Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we have gathered and come together to discuss some pressing issues in the world, including a respectful and peaceful Muslim debater being attacked on stage by a violent, angry atheist debater.
Islamophobe, total Islamophobe.
Oh yeah, and hey, Pete, I have not seen this. I have not seen this thing, but I have seen the clip already on a Muslim channel where the clip just starts off with Matt Dillahunty charging across stage at poor Daniel, who's just sitting there with a grin on his face. Just totally nice guy. I don't know what's going on with you atheists, but you guys are out of control, man.
Yes, really need to get their thing together.
This is exactly what happens, AP, when you stop letting 12-year-olds get married. It just goes right to that. That's the next step immediately.
AP, you don't let 12-year-olds get married, and next thing you know, you guys are charging across stage, trying to start fights. So
that's what happens. That's what happens. In fact, let's look at that right away. Like David is talking about this. So some Muslims shared these news of atheist goes crazy during live debate.
Is that I don't know if that's the one I saw, but it was all like that.
That's the title of the video. But this is it starts like this.
Look at him look at him charging across there.
Here, all right, nice.
Charging across there like an angry. Look at this, James himself jumping up. The moderator himself jumping up. Hold Matt back.
Go ahead, gentlemen. Do it. All right.
I'm saying,
look at this.
I have an answer.
Sit down.
Okay, I'll sit down.
You said that you come over there and say it. I'm
Yeah.
not violent. I would never do anything.
You can't
violent.
respond to any point. You just make a joke.
See, you see, the Muslim is peacefully sitting there, and this atheist Islamophobe just starts going toward him. He charges. He wants to attack him. See, this is what's happening.
This is what happens.
Atheist goes crazy during live debate.
This is what happens when you abandon Sharia and you give women rights. This is the next step. It goes right from giving women rights to atheists charging and trying to attack peaceful, innocent Muslims just sitting there, totally not doing anything to antagonize them.
Yeah, you let women go to school, and the next thing you know, you've got atheists charging Muslims across the stage, trying to commit violence because of their Islamophobia. And this is making me rethink everything, man. I've been condemning Islam for jihad all these years, and maybe atheists are the ones I should really be worried about.
Also, what we are skipping here is this is only the surface of things. Like, while this atheist is here crazily attacking this peaceful Muslim because they send women to school and they have, liberalism. Meanwhile, at home, the women are all doing OnlyFans, and their children are all, their kids are all the youth. They are basically dying in public toilets doing drugs. That's what happens.
And speaking of toilets, I've heard from Daniel that Christians pee all over their walls in their bathrooms, and that's why it makes sense that Muhammad said you had to squat while peeing, and so that's why everyone needs to pee like a girl in this super masculine macho religion.
That is true. Alhamdulillah. Now, all of that is complete nonsense, of course. But as David just pointed out, this is what Muslims post. But for those who have seen the actual debate, the entire debate, which took place on Modern Day Debate, James is actually here in the comment section right now. That's very, very nice. Hello, James. It took place there.
He's trying to rescue this live stream like he had to rescue Daniel from Matt.
Saved his life, probably. Who knows?
We know what actually happened here. What actually happened is not that this atheist became crazy and started charging toward this Muslim. What happened is that it was the Muslim himself who actually issued what you can call a threat. It is him who actually initiated the implication of violence.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah, this will be the build up to it.
You want to have a look at it?
So 300-pound gorilla.
Here's the thing that Daniel doesn't seem to understand.
So yeah,
here's the thing that
whenever
Daniel
you get
doesn't-
caught
here's the
on
thing that Daniel doesn't
inconsistency,
seem
you
to-
make a joke
Here-
or you blast the F word. Whenever you're caught out on an
You're not caught in
inconsistency,
inconsistency.
you just
If you
blurt
let
out
me
the
finish.
F word. You
Every
make a
time-
joke for your plant to laugh
Every
at.
time I
like
have a
back there.
good point that he knows
Whenever
is coming,
you don't have
he
an
tries
answer,
to talk over me.
whenever you don't have an answer, you have to make a
I
dumb
have an
joke,
answer.
a
If you
boomer
shut the
joke.
fuck up, I tell you.
Oh, big man, come and say that right here.
Trying to say it right where? Here.
Bloodbath.
I don't do anything. I'm not violent.
Go ahead.
Hey, James is quick, by the way.
I'm saying I have an answer.
Sit down. Sit down.
I'm pretty sure James with those biceps could just
I'm
like
not
pick them
violent. I
both
would
up
never
and
do
float
that.
them
I know.
out if he
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah, that's why.
Joke.
Now
I
it
can't
makes
respond
sense
to
why
you.
James has
believe-
to work out.
Did you see
That
the
makes sense
ridiculousness
why-
of this? It
That
is.
makes sense why James is all shredded because he has to keep the atheists and Muslims separated.
So it's on footage, on camera, Daniel Hikichu playing a tough guy and suggesting a violent resolution because he's angry at what Matt just said. Matt coming over to him and being like, so what is going to happen if I come here and say it to you right here? I'm not going to do anything. And Daniel suddenly backs down and starts, smiling. And like, "Hey, okay,
I'm a victim. I'm a victim.
I wasn't
I'm
going
a
to say
victim."
anything. I wasn't going to. Why don't you just sit down? Let's just talk."
If he
Can't
wouldn't have
we
gotten
all
up,
just get along?
if Matt wouldn't have gotten up, they would have been. You'd see videos now all over going,
Yep.
"Atheist
correct.
cowers when Muslim challenges him."
Mhm.
Like we'd see all that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt. So yeah. All joking aside, Matt had to do that. He had to jump up and call Daniel's bluff specifically because that would be the new in thing. Look, everyone's scared. They're scared of our strength, our power. Look how strong we are. But by calling that bluff, I have to say, Daniel looked like a little punk. I mean, it's very clear when you say that to my face. What you're actually saying is you're too scared to say that to my face because you know that there would be violent repercussions, and you're too scared to come over and say that to my face. And he did it, and then Daniel just, what's going on here? I don't know.
Let's sit down and talk.
Hey, is that still the Predator laptop? Does his laptop still say Predator on it?
Yeah.
They don't even cover
I
that.
thought maybe he
Hey.
would put a label on it or something. I don't know, or scratch it, but nothing. No.
Hey, before the next debate, someone should get a little sticker that says sex and then like sneak up right beforehand when he looks the other way and put sex right above it.
But let's set something straight here. So these Muslim fans of Daniel Hikichu and others want to post these videos out of context and act like it is the other one, the Islamophobe here, who is being unreasonable and crazy and all of that. But what is happening here is pretty simple. If you are in a heated debate and somebody says things to you that you are uncomfortable with, not for no reason, because if we watch the whole debate, we can see Daniel attacking Matt personally over and over and over and over again, and Matt doing the same thing and also speaking with the F word, and Matt actually doing it much less and rather attacking his disgusting views. If you then sit there and you make the suggestion, you say, how about you come and say that right here? That is a direct initiation of a suggestion of violence. That means you can't handle what is being said right now. You are challenging your opponent to come here and say it right there because you don't like his words. Because if he comes here, then you may get violent. It is therefore Daniel Hikichu here who is initiating the suggestion of violence. And Matt is not reacting to it with violence. He's going over there and calling out his bluff. And Daniel sits there like a little cat, like a little kitten, shy, and asks him to just sit back down, please. Go sit down. Let's not do this.
I will say, I disagreed with both of them throughout the whole debate. I watched the whole thing. I will say the one thing I would give advice to Matt on is you can't get emotional with Daniel because they will cut those clips. They'll take them out of context that we've already seen him use it. You got to be stoic with them because Daniel likes to push your buttons, as I've seen in multiple debates preparing for my debate with him. So that's why in my debate, I try to remain as stoic as possible because it gives him nothing to play with. And you see this in here. He gives the Muslims a lot to play with because Matt, rightly so, gets emotional at Daniel's position of saying it's okay for 9-year-olds to be married off and have sex with. I mean, yeah, it's hard to keep your cool when people are saying that, but that's what Daniel wants. He wants to say outrageous things to get you annoyed and emotional, and then he turns that and tries to use that against you, which sleazy tactic. But I mean, that's what he does.
Hey, two things real quick. One, I just thought of this, but Christians should use this clip and title it "Christian Saves Muslim from Atheist," and have the labels on like Daniel Muslim, and then Matt coming across stage atheist, and then James, and then like break into some song like "And I will always love you," like he saves the day and something. Yeah. So with that said, I mean, on the one hand, you can kind of understand Daniel's perspective because he likes to play these debates on his channel and so on. So he doesn't want cursing and so on. And that could be a thing that if you want a rule about language, you should discuss that before the debate and say, here are the rules we're going to follow during the debate. Anyway, I can kind of get Daniel, not wanting Matt to say certain things, but I mean, at the same time, if you want people to be nice, you should be playing nice and not constantly doing things to enrage people. But I mean, think about the moral compass of Daniel. Sex with little kids, good. F word, really bad.
Yeah, right. That is the thing, right?
Sex with little kids, wife beating, enslaving people, murdering apostates, all that good. Where does he draw the line? F word. That's too much. Going around here, beating your 6-year-old child bride into submission and so on. That's fine. F word? No, that's too much for my perfectly functioning moral compass.
It's not just that. It's like your opponents should be executed, should be killed. People who leave Islam should be killed. People should be fought and enslaved. But hey, why is he allowed to say the F word?
That is one question. If I would have more time in the cross-examination in my debate with Daniel, I was going to ask him about that whole wife beating thing. Like, so if a man has got a 6-year-old child bride, could he hit her if she is refusing him sex? Like for weeks, they've been married. She's hiding from. Could he start hitting her? Like I didn't get a chance to because we ran out of time. But that was on my list. And yeah,
just so you know, the correct answer is yes.
Yeah, from him, yeah, for sure. We know it is. I mean.
Oh, I was talking about Islamically, yeah.
Yeah.
What is this, man? The guy is eating here on the live stream. Very rude.
Amateur.
Yeah, amateur. You're muted, David. You just muted yourself.
Now you're muted.
Yeah, amateur.
There you
Go. Go back.
I'm muting myself because I'm crunching on crackers here. Hey, AP, who you calling a cracker? What's wrong with you, man? All right. I'll put my crackers away. I wanted energy to be awesome for this show, but I'll just be all weak and lethargic instead. That's all right. I got a big thing of black coffee.
What did I just?
Well, we gotta we do eventually got to go to the 2 hours and 30-minute mark because I come up in this debate unexpectedly. Well, I should have expected it. I mean, when I debated Daniel. In April, I believe it was, Matt comes in the room while we're watching like the earlier debates, and he comes over to me and goes, "Hey, am I right in assuming that after my debate, the rest of this conference is about whether or not we can children or not?" And I was like, because I was going against Daniel, and then after me was Dizzle here debating Kenny Boomer on the age of Aisha.
So I can't.
Sorry. You mean Kenny Boomer, not Boomer, right?
Bomer, yeah, whatever. I forget how to pronounce his last name.
Kenny Boomer.
Respond to any
So you do believe in schooling rape?
So
you believe in?
Do you want an answer?
Educational rape?
Look at Daniel's face after he got completely worked up because he just came walking over.
You can't respond.
Hey, what's funny is the PowerPoint behind him says Islam is balanced.
Can't respond to any
So you
questions.
do
Total
believe
shut
in
up.
schooling rape.
So-
you believe in
I'm gonna-
Would you-
do you want an answer?
This is a
His face.
common tactic from Daniel is that he will just do like police, like movie policing interrogator. We're like, you believe this? Why would you believe that? Answer me on this. Answer me. Like he tried to do it in my debate with him, and I had to keep pointing out. He kept interrupting me, but he tries to do like this long,
have a-
drawn-out interrogator thing where he asks the same thing over and over again, or says the same thing over and over again.
Do you have a timestamp of? I forgot to note that, but there was this one part where Daniel pressed him on answering a question with yes or no, which was on whether he is for whether he wants to allow or punish 9-year-olds having sex with each other or having relationships or not. And he
Yeah,
was
I
like,
think it's
yes or no.
Let me find it. I think I know where it is, but I
That
think
was-
it's right before this point.
Actually, let's just go by your plan. I think you made a much better plan here with your
Well,
timestamps.
it can't be any worse than your plan, which is just randomly
That is true. That is
jumping
true.
around.
Yeah. I was thinking IP should make a podcast, a daily podcast named IP Every Day or something. like
IP Daily.
yeah, IP Daily or IP. I thought that would be a brilliant thing, right?
Yo, it's if you go to like 2:30, they talk about me, and then right after is the yes or no thing you were just talking about. So it's
Okay.
like 2:30, then like the yes or no thing.
Presented. Nowhere did I say that, oh yeah, 4-year-olds go through puberty and
Yeah, go back a little bit, because this is where he
Oh.
starts to lie, because
basis
he definitely.
Whoa. Daniel can't lie. He's one of the few.
terrorists. That's
Daniel doesn't lie. They don't lie.
very convenient for you. But the people who were being killed by these groups did consider them to be terrorists. The regimes that were displaced by these groups did consider them to be terrorists. But the winners are able to write history. You keep bringing up like this point about 4-year-olds. This is like a straw man that was put forth in a previous debate. Nowhere did I say that a 4-year-old should be, in a sexual relationship. It was a hypothetical presented
Okay.
to me, and I answered that on the basis of the hypothetical that was presented. Nowhere did I say that, oh yeah, 4-year-olds go through puberty and therefore they should be sexually active.
So you're
So
saying
that's
a hypothetical 4-year-old who went through precocious puberty would be okay? Because that's what you said in the debate.
so we can go through
Right.
what I said in the
Hey,
debate.
hold it up. Okay, let me be clear. Hypothetically, if there were a hypothetical 4-year-old that hypothetically reached precocious puberty, yes, I would hypothetically marry and bone that 4-year-old. That's all I'm saying. But so that's what I'm saying. This is a straw man. I'm not saying about anything actual. I'm not saying anything in the real world. I'm just saying, yeah, hypothetically, 4-year-old, totally open game there. This is crazy, man.
So ridiculous. I am going to play IP. Let me know whenever you want to pause and add something. I'm also going to play the clip just to show people what exactly happened.
Yeah, let's just keep playing a little bit of this. But yeah, what Daniel's trying to do is he in my debate with him, I proposed this hypothetical that if a 4-year-old went through precocious puberty, because he said if a girl is showing any signs of puberty, they can be married off and the marriage can be consummated. So, okay, 4-year-old goes through precocious puberty, and he said if there are signs, then yes. So he did say that you can't sleep with 4-year-olds in Islam. He is now trying to He's trying to walk back on this. And I'm surprised, because I thought he was the honest Muslim apologist. Here he is walking back on what he said.
Well, look at how he just defended himself, because that's a little diabolical there. Look what he actually said. He's actually correct. I did not say that a 4-year-old should be sexually active. I responded to a hypothetical situation. So yeah, he's correct. It doesn't mean he didn't say, yes, if a girl gets puberty, precocious puberty at 4, then she should start having sex or she should be married off and so on. Because he did include that, no, it requires things like parental consent and so on.
Hold on, dude. But it gets worse. You would think that, but he is going to now clarify what he supposedly actually said, and he will completely deny what he said. So it is getting much worse. Yeah.
So yeah, just based on what he just said, I was like, yes, he's technically correct if he wanted to say it, even though he was obviously defending marriage to and sex with 4-year-olds, because that's what the Quran does.
Yeah, but it's getting much worse. Look at this now.
But I thought you want to stick on the topic of the debate.
Well, I'm just saying you're now denying that you said what we all heard you say, which
No, I
got
said-
popularized over the internet because Mike specifically asked if a 4-year-old goes through precocious puberty, under your version of what Allah permits, is it permissible to marry and have sex with her? And your answer was yes.
No, the point that I put to that person in that debate was that if we accept that someone is going through puberty, that means that the person is going to desire sexual relations. They're going to desire to be sexually active. And that is a biological fact. It just doesn't happen at 4 years old. It happens at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And that's why when we look at American culture and Western
Okay,
culture,
pause it real fast. Pause it
He completely
before
denied what he
jumps.
actually said.
Yeah, he's about to change subject here, but yeah, he's completely
complete
denied.
lie.
The way he worded it is not what happened in the debate. The way he worded it here was that if I was saying in some other world, if people started going through puberty at 4, would it be okay to marry and have sex with them? But that's not what I said. I gave real life things that have happened in our world where 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 11-month-old at one point went through precocious puberty. And in the real world, if that happened in Islam, would it be morally permissible for that girl to be married off by her parents and then the pedophile husband starts raping her? Because that's what it would be. And he said, yes, that would be perfectly morally permissible in Islam. Now he's walking back on that, which is very odd considering he's kind of built up his reputation for being honest about what Islam teaches.
But look
Wow.
at, I mean, look at even what he said. He even in his dialed back version that he's presenting now, he's like, "Oh, I'm simply saying that once a child goes through puberty, that child is going to be desiring sex, and that's just a biological fact. And so you got to do something with that, and marriage would be the outcome." So if an 11-month-old baby gets precocious puberty, that 11-month-old is going to start getting really horny and looking around. Oh, I need someone here. What am I going to do? Oh, and the parents will be like, "Oh, we got to do something. So we'll marry our 11-month-old baby off to Daniel Hakikachu here."
Let's look at what he actually said, and then I want to play again his response to Matt. Let's look at what he really said in this clip.
He's just behind the Predator laptop for anyone wondering. He's just behind the Predator laptop.
Too perfect, man.
signs of physical
Keep
maturity.
in mind, he bought that at some point, right? He decided to buy that at some point. Like he's like, all the laptops out there, hey, this has an Apple logo. I don't like apples. Ooh, this one has a Predator logo on it. Yeah, that's all me.
Yeah.
It's permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Starting puberty unusually early. Like,
is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
you can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
Could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old, consummate it if she started precocious puberty?
Consummate it.
Starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible. As I
What
said,
about age 4?
He specifically asked about consummating.
So this is something that becomes biologically impossible because
I have a
puberty,
study
there are
that shows
no.
it goes as early as 11 months.
Well, that's something that the parents would not. See, the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages, and when you look at the marriage of.
So you just heard it. Mike asked him specifically about what was it, 4 years old, 5 years old, 4 years old. He said
3.
yes. He said yes. If there are signs of puberty, then it is yes appropriate and allowable for that child to get married and also to consummate the marriage, so to have sex. So for a man to, for example, have sex with a 4-year-old girl, that is specifically what is being said here. If there are signs of early puberty, Mike pushes and goes to the age of 3. Daniel claims that it is biologically not possible. Mike refutes it and says it goes as early as 11 months. And then he brings in the other standards of, the parents being in charge and them probably not allowing it and so on. But what he clearly says here, we have heard it all, is that if there are signs of early maturity at the age of 4, then yes, the marriage can be consummated. Sex can be had. But if we go over to the discussion with Matt Dillahunty, he completely denies that. Now let's play it again. This is a clear, blatant lie. Unbelievable.
Saying you're now denying that you said what we all heard you say, which
No, I
got
said-
popularized over the internet because Mike specifically asked if a 4-year-old goes through precocious puberty, under your version of what Allah permits, is it permissible to marry and have sex with her? And your answer was yes.
No, the point that I put to that person in that debate was that if we accept that someone is going through puberty, that means that the person is going to desire sexual relations. They're going to desire to be sexually active. And that is a biological fact. It just doesn't happen at 4 years old. It happens at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And that's why when we look at American.
No,
It's-
you
it's-
were
it's-
no, you
it's
were
very clear, right?
specifically asked. He was specifically asked about marrying and consummating marriage with a 5-year-old, with a 4-year-old. He agreed, indeed, if she shows signs of maturity, then you can have sex with her, marry her and have sex with her. And then his only response to the 11-month-old, because that was something apparently new to him, was, yeah, but you'd have to get parental consent. And no parent would consent unless we've conditioned the parent to think that it's best. But hey, I did want to point out one additional thing for everyone who's watching and anyone who's new to this. As revolting as Daniel's position is, as horrifying as it is, as you look at this and go, oh my goodness, what? That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. He is still massively more moral than his God and his prophet, who allow there's no requirement of puberty in Islam, right? There are schools of thought who have suggested that later on, but Aisha had not reached puberty according to the hadith, and Surah 65 verse 4 of the Quran does not require puberty. It specifically refers to marrying and having sex with girls before. No, marrying, having sex with, divorcing, and passing on to another man, girls, all before they've reached the age of puberty. According to the Quran and according to the commentaries, a Muslim man can marry a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, whatever, have sex with her, get bored with her, divorce her, pass her on to another guy who can marry her, have sex with her, divorce her, pass her on to the next guy. This can all happen before a girl has ever even reached puberty. So as revolting as Daniel is, he is a light. He is a light. He is a beacon of morality within Islam.
One of my favorite things is Daniel will not even name me. Like Matt is going, Mike Jones, Mike this, Mike that, and Matt and Daniel are going, yeah, that person I was having a debate with.
The man, that Christian who shall not be named, yeah.
That man. I find it, I just want to stay on the fact that we have a very clear, undeniable, blatant lie on display here. Yep. And I just can't get over such things by just saying, oh, look, you see, he lied. Anyway, because I mean, this is a guy who is respected by so many Islamists as a fantastic debater who crushes his opponents and all of that. And we know that he's a liar. We know that he is a horrible person. We know that he says horrible things. But here we have a very clear, presentation, a very clear display of him lying, precisely lying without any excuse about what he said before. And there is no way he doesn't remember what he actually said. There is no way he suddenly changed his mind on this whole stuff completely. And he was like, oh, I would have never said that because I don't believe that. No, he was clearly asked by Mike and he answered. And now he's denying to have ever said it. And he's making up a different story. Mm-hmm. Daniel, why in the world are you lying? Dear audience, dear fans of Daniel Kikuchu, why is your guy lying here? And how in the world does he get away with this?
And those questions I wrote were worded specific. I wrote those out in March before the debate. All right, how can I make sure? I don't want to say, can a man have sex with a 4-year-old? Because he'll be like, no. But so I worded it specifically, can a man marry and consummate the marriage with a girl who's gone through precocious puberty? Because that's what he has to say yes to. And he did. He walked right into it and said it. And also his argument here in this debate is a little weird because he's saying well, if a 9, 10, or 11-year-old's going through puberty, they're going to want to desire sex. Therefore, they should be married. Well, by that logic, if your only argument as to why you should allow child marriage, well, at least in this instance, the argument is is because they desire sex. What about homosexuals at this point? They desire to have homosexual relationships. Is that evidence that we should allow homosexual marriage? Or is the desire only permissible when it fits with his Islamic views? It's like, you just can't argue from desire. That's a bad argument.
Liar! You're a liar! You're a liar!
Sorry, I had to play that sound.
Yeah. And by the way, that liar thing is very important because, especially in early conversations I have with people, I'm more interested in finding out. I mean, sometimes I'll go through the entire first conversation with someone trying to figure out, is this person sincere in what they're saying but wrong, or is this person knowingly lying? And we've caught Daniel lots of times by now saying something like citing studies that are being completely misrepresented. And even there, the question is, does he know he's misrepresenting them, or is he just really, really bad at understanding the sources he's citing? Because there's a huge difference there in how you're going to interact with somebody. If someone is bad at understanding and interpreting sources, versus someone just flat out lies about the sources, those are two different kinds of people there. The same thing with Daniel saying that according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, Mary was 12 years old. Okay, you're either either have the worst reading comprehension in the world, but somehow you're just really bad at reading, and so you interpreted it as saying that, or you're just lying about it, like the Dawa guys always do. So I'm always interested in that, but here, by this point, it's pretty clear this guy just lies. So we are not dealing with, he's more honest about some of the things Islam teaches than a lot of the other Dawa guys who try to cover it up. But make no mistake about it, Dawa is deception, and he is another Dawa liar.
Real problems.
Yeah. That's, somebody said in the chat, Mike, you should change your name here to that person.
Mike, that person.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what have been funny if Matt had called him out for not using your name, and then Matt was like Mike Jones, and Danny was like, who? He goes, Mike Jones. He goes, who? Mike Jones. Who? AP, you don't even know what we're talking about,
It's
man.
a fantastic scenario, of course.
We're talking about rap. Talking about.
I'll change my tag to he who should not be named.
It reminds me of Monica Lewinsky, though. It's like that I did not have sexual relations with that person instead of that woman.
That all depends on what your definition of is. That was classic. That was brilliant.
Anyway, I don't know why we have to go there now. It's a complete perversion. David, of course, that's what he goes to.
Culture and Western culture, the children at that age are highly sexually active. That's the reality in the world today. So
Wait, at what age are they sexually active?
11 months, CP. 11 months.
He says 9.
Wait,
American culture and Western
wait.
sexually active person is going to desire sexual relations.
For-
They're going to desire to be sexually active. And that is a biological fact. It just doesn't happen at 4 years old. It happens at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And that's why when we look at American culture and Western culture, the children at that age are highly sexually active. That's the reality in the world today. So you, or I won't say you because I don't know what your views are.
That's true. Like lots of 9-year-olds everywhere. They keep going around and having sex with each other, like orgies and stuff. It's terrible.
My daughter's 8, and what is he talking about? This is just utter nonsense. Like there are other families in the church I attend with 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. None of them act like this, and no one is struggling with this issue. So what is he? He's just making up nonsense. Like this is just not a reality.
It sounds like Daniel never leaves the house. He doesn't interact with society, with other human beings. I mean, he lives in America, right? It's not just some guy commenting on America from across the world. I mean, he lives in America, but apparently he never interacts with other humans, so he doesn't know what actually happens. But this is just what he thinks. Because
I mean, he thinks that like Christians
if
pee all
outside,
over our
don't
walls.
leave the door.
They pee all-
Don't go outside the house. Christians pee all over the street.
I know what's going on outside these doors. Christians are peeing all over everything, and there are a bunch of 7-year-olds running around boning each other because they've gone to puberty. They're so everyone stay inside. Stay inside. That's what's
Lock your
going on out
doors.
there.
Lock your doors. Don't go out. Outside, Christians are peeing on the streets.
They're running down the streets peeing.
But the person that I was debating has no problem
The person.
You shall not be named.
in there being, this laissez-faire attitude towards children 9, 10,
Wait,
11,
he
or
didn't even give
younger.
your gender. He said they're saying, like you're plural, like you're plural.
Well,
Like he's giving you pronouns now.
It's very
They, them.
progressive. It's very progressive and woke of Daniel to not assume my gender.
Woke
So
Daniel,
at least he's
woke.
being more respectable about pronouns. Maybe he now is all for the woke agenda and wants to respect pronouns, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
he's
Daniel
not gonna
goes
assume
full
my
woke.
pronouns.
Daniel goes full woke, adopts pronouns for his opponent.
Yeah.
Being active with sexual dating, going to prom, going to these
So is this true, Michael? What he just said?
Go
about
back.
you?
children and you, because I don't know what your views are. But the person that I was debating has no problem in there being, this laissez-faire attitude towards children 9, 10, 11, or even younger, being active with sexual dating, going to prom, going to these
A lot of
kinds of
11-year-olds at prom.
dances, boyfriend, girlfriend, fornicating. That is all allowed. So you don't have a
So
Who shows up to prom with an 11-year-old? I've never heard of that before.
is this true, Michael?
Wait,
So,
this is
just-
like this is going. Everything is going back to like Daniel's fantasy about what's going on outside the walls
yeah.
of his room. It's like there's all these 9-year-olds graduating high school and going to prom and promoting each
younger.
other. That's why we have
And
to
younger.
marry them off.
He said and younger. So there are
And
like
younger, yeah.
7-year-olds going to prom and having orgies there or something like that. I don't know, that's what he's imagining.
So-
But what in the world? Are you in favor of letting people just do these things, and are you in favor of people just going around and having sex at the age of 9 or younger with each other and all of that? Is this true, Michael?
Well,
And-
you might be surprised to hear, but no, I am not in favor of any of this, and this is just
As
a
you
bold-faced lie.
as you said in your debate with him, you were just saying you don't think they should be punished for all this stuff as far as like sending
Yeah,
them to prison and stuff.
And he does the same thing in this debate with Matt, because Matt, this comes up right after this, where Matt is like, I don't think we should make laws against 9-year-olds having sex. But Matt clarifies and says, but I don't think 9-year-olds should be having sex. But Daniel's logic is you either want 9-year-olds thrown in prison to prevent them from having sex, or you want them. It's this utter false dichotomy that he always throws out.
He is the absolute king of the false dichotomy.
If you're
It's
against
you either
child
you either want the leftist dystopia or the Sharia dystopia. There are no other options. Those are the only two options. Pick one dystopia, and you can't say no. I don't want either dystopia. I don't want either of those dystopias. No, it's one or the other. Pick one.
Yeah, and it's like if you don't want child marriage and 9-year-olds being thrown in prison, then you're going to go on the slippery slope, which is a fallacy, and you're going to be in favor of everything else on the far left. And that's just he does the same thing to Matt. It's the same stupid logical fallacy that we've seen before from him. And that's why he's accusing me of this, because in his mind, because I reject child marriage and I don't think 9-year-olds should be thrown in prison for having sex or engaging in any sexual activity because they can't consent. They don't know what they're doing, because I don't think they should be thrown in prison for that. Therefore, I'm in favor of it happening. And so that's where his reasoning is coming from in this. It's so ridiculous.
This is a very typically legalistic Islamic way of looking at things, where if you are against something, then that means you have to punish it, and you have to punish it severely, and you have to lock him up. If you don't do that, then that means you're not against it. And what has gotten into you? You're supposed to be against it. You're supposed to lock him up. You're supposed to put him in jail. You're supposed to torture them. If you're not doing that, then that means you are okay with it, and indeed you yourself would engage in it, and you would promote it. That's what he is doing the whole time. And this is a very common thing that many other Muslim apologists will also do. And it is they don't seem to understand that is not how reality works. You probably don't want little kids to go and start doing all kinds of weird things with each other. That does not mean that you believe the state should step in and pick them up and put them in prison. There are different means of doing that, right?
It's like, what sort of authoritarian dystopia does Daniel want to create in the world? Like, I've always said, a lot of Muslim apologists want to drag us back to the ethics of the 7th century and leave us there. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't want adultery to happen. I don't think people should be cheating on their spouse. But are we going to make laws that anyone who commits adultery is thrown in prison? I mean, think of the dystopian nightmare of that. I mean, the prisons are already overflowing with people. We're just going to start throwing everyone in prison now for committing adultery. Some things the law just cannot handle. This is why we separate politics and ethics. There's overlap, obviously, but politics, the law cannot cover all of morality. We can't punish someone from the law every time they tell a white lie, for example, even though lying is immoral. Like, you get the fact that he doesn't understand the difference between ethics and politics just says a lot about the dystopian nightmare that he would want to unleash upon the world if he actually had any power.
I'm just imagining some guy masturbating at home, and then immediately the police comes and kicks in the door.
We turned on your iPhone camera and we saw what you were doing. We have come. 6 months in prison. Chop off his hand. You can never do that again. So many 13-year-olds walking around without hands, trying to figure out, how do I deal with the other hand? Because they chopped off his hand. What are we going to do? And then some guy's like, listen, I got really good with yoga. They took both my hands, but you use your feet,
Problem, or people who are scoffing and laughing, they don't have a problem with 9-year-olds having sex. They just have a problem with the idea of a 9-year-old getting married. That was the point of that debate, and we don't have to rehash it.
Well, I think, Mike Jones, if you're watching, I think Daniel just suggested that you're okay with 9-year-olds engaging in sexual activity. And I want to verify that, because if that is true, if that's true, Mike, you're as repugnant as Daniel is. But
Mike, shame on you. Shame on you. Let's hear this again.
Daniel just suggested that you're okay with 9-year-olds engaging in sexual activity. And I want to verify that, because if that is true, if that's true, Mike, you're as repugnant as Daniel is, but I don't think that's true.
So do you think
shame on you, Mike?
He started speaking to you directly in the middle of a debate. That's funny.
Just like Muslims speak directly to Muhammad during the prayer. Yeah.
9-year-olds dating.
I was driving to the airport at that point on my way back home, and that I had to stop the car and go, wait, did they just talk to me directly? So I put a tweet out going, well, to answer your question, Matt. No, I don't think 9-year-olds should be having sex.
You know, it would have been funny if you were in the area and you ran over there real quick and they're talking, all of a sudden you pop up. Ah, hey, just so you all know, you can answer their question live. That'd have been awesome.
He's a liar.
What counts as dating?
What if a 9-year-old wants to have sex with another 9-year-old boy? Do we have laws? Should we have laws that prevent that?
This isn't about.
Should we? Now it's not about 9-year-olds. Okay.
I'm sorry. Do I get to answer your question?
Yes, please answer. Are you in favor of laws that would ban a 9-year-old girl from sleeping with a 9-year-old boy? Yes or no?
We don't have
yes
law.
or no.
Okay. How can you possibly argue with a person like that?
Okay, one more time, since you're going to do the yes or no thing. One more time with the question. Am I in favor of laws that would ban that? No.
Okay. So you don't have a problem with 9-year-olds having sex?
Notice. If you don't say there's a law, you have no problem with it. If you don't believe that tossing them in prison or something like that should be part of the law, then you think it's okay and it's totally fine.
If you don't think that 13-year-old boys should have their hand chopped off for masturbating, you are in favor of them transitioning and having orgies every week. I mean, how could you, Matt? I mean, obviously.
You want them, it's basically you either chop their hands off or you're supporting OnlyFans.
I feel like, I don't know, but there is I don't think Daniel Kikachu is that stupid. I don't think that he is this
I don't know. He's pretty
consistent.
He's extremely consistent with the black and white thinking. So he's consistent with that. He's extremely consistent with the slippery slope fallacy. Mm-hmm. He's the all-time king of whataboutism. So if anyone actually thinks like this, it would be Daniel. His brain just seems wired.
Okay, here's the thing. I want to ask you. I want to ask you a question. Both of you a question. Maybe the audience too. If somebody does this over and over again and still doesn't understand it, and being answered by Mike during the debate, and even by Matt now, still doesn't understand the difference here, and still insists, oh, so you're not for punishing them? That means you're for it. that would strike me as a rather stupid person, somebody who can't think, who can't understand
Look,
a little bit of
I
nuance
mean-
here. And I want to ask you guys, because I have my view on this. Do you guys believe that Daniel Kikichu is actually that stupid?
I believe he
I
is
don't
that illogical. You could be smart in certain ways and
Uh-huh.
still very illogical in certain ways. And so
I
I
mean,
think
it's-
that's him. Your brain, I mean, your brain could be turbocharged in certain areas, and you could be extremely bad with other issues. Like you could be like a literary genius and terrible at math. Well, you could be smart enough to assemble a bunch of sources and have lots of debates and so on. And nevertheless, you're just, I mean, it seems like he's just wired for this black and white thing. It's this or this. It's the only possibilities. It's I don't know. I think he, in other words, I think he is like that.
Well, I would say I don't think he's very equipped well in philosophy. I mean, when I got my master's in philosophy, we spent time. Classes were basically often group discussions, and you go back and forth, and they're trying to teach you how to think philosophically, and you learn like how people talk in the real world, and you start picking out logical fallacies. So when I watch these debates, I'm often like, yeah, black and white fallacy. Yeah, that's a slippery slope. Oh, that's an ad hominem. That's what I sort of do in these debates now when I'm listening in. And just Daniel just seems like he doesn't really know a lot about philosophy, how to think philosophically. Or another possibility is he's doing these extreme things to push people's buttons, because that's what he wants to do. Like if you are against 9-year-olds being punished for being sexually active, then you must be in favor of it. And he might be doing that on purpose just to push buttons. So he's either being intentionally sleazy in how he does this, or he's not philosophically minded, and he does poor philosophical training, honestly.
And by the way, notice the hypocrisy here. Daniel, when he's defending wife beating, he's like, okay, if your wife gets out of line or is doing something wrong, who would be better? Who would you want to punish her? Would you want the state to punish her, or would you want her husband who loves her to punish her? Therefore, it's better for the husband to be doing the punishing, because it's not some, distant entity, uncaring entity or something like that. He's someone who actually cares about her. So notice, applying that exact same logic to this situation. If your 9-year-old started having sex with another 9-year-old or something like that, it would seem like you would want the parents dealing with that situation and taking steps to deal with the situation, rather than sending the kid to the government to be punished by the criminal justice system. And yet he's saying, hey, if you don't want the criminal, think about this. He's saying, if you don't want the criminal justice system taking over and doing it, then there are no more rules. It's anarchy. And yet he himself believes in beating your wife and not having her judged by the government. So wait a minute, what happened? What happened to a husband loves his wife more than the government does, and therefore the husband should be the one disciplining his wife? Why wouldn't that exact same reasoning say, okay, if your child is has started having sex at a young age, you should be dealing with that and figuring out how you're going to handle that, and not the government, which doesn't actually care? But the government does step in if it's like a 20-year-old having sex with a 9-year-old, then okay, now we got to deal with this guy. But they're not going to punish. They're not going to.
Oh, he froze.
Oh no,
We lost him. But yeah, just to
dead.
carry on what he's saying, he's right. Daniel's being inconsistent here. He wants the state to punish children for having sex, but he wants a husband to punish the wife because he doesn't want the state involved because he thinks it's bad. So he'll just use whatever argument he can in the debate to try to score points. But that's typical Daniel Kikichu. He's just trying to score points in this, but he'll use these inconsistent arguments. And, I've seen it on my debate prep with him. So, I've always wanted to ask him, does he think a wife should be able to punish her husband if he's acting out of line? Like what would he say to that? Like, why does the husband punish? Like,
how dare you suggest that?
Well, I mean, they're supposed to be equal. I thought that was a basic human right of equality. I don't know. That's so weird of me to think.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing in Islam. It is what the Quran makes it very clear that a husband and wife have rights over each other, but the husband is above the wife, the woman, the wife.
That sounds like Orwell. Everyone's equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yes, some animals are more equal than others. But it's like it specifies that men are in charge of the women, and if women become too arrogant, or if they fear arrogance, they fear arrogance from the women, and they may beat the women, and that is the bad thing, right?
And it's, honestly, I think, when I've said this before, but Daniel's argument is really stupid, because if you've got a domestic dispute, you should want someone who's not emotionally involved to settle it. Why does the husband who's emotionally involved get to make the decisions? It should be that, you have an outside person, like a judge, come in and go, okay, what's the conflict here? What did she say? What did he say? Who hit who first, kind of thing. Because
What's going
that's
on here?
typically that's typically what happens when there's two people fighting. Someone steps in who's a neutral party and goes, all right, stop it. But in Daniel's world, the dystopian nightmare he'd want to thrust upon us, men would be able to just take charge and do whatever the hell they want. And you'd have, a high increase of spousal abuse and these emotionally charged husbands acting on emotion. It'd be horrible.
Yeah, David just told me that he has internet problems. He
Amateur.
said internet has been having problems today. Have to restart modem. We'll be back soon. Okay. Now we have to wait for David to come back. David's going to come back soon. Yeah.
This is really going to leave me in this room with his atheist. The guy might charge me. I've seen it happen on camera before.
Yeah.
He might just
you can't trust
reach through the
atheists.
camera.
Atheism is terrorism. Yeah.
That's why every week, they do that jihad report and cover all the atheists around the world.
Count Buka just became a member of the channel. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the membership. Welcome to being one of the followers of the final messenger, the final prophet. Oh, I saw you. Oh, no, you changed it earlier.
I was the other final messenger, and then now he who should not be named.
Okay. So we'll just go on without David for a little bit. If he's restarting his modem, then that might take a while, maybe 5 to 10 minutes or something. So unfortunately, yeah, we have to forget about David now and move on without him.
And no.
Okay. So you don't have a problem with 9-year-olds having sex?
That's a lie, and you are the most dishonest person I've ever engaged with. You just forced me to answer yes or no to a question about whether or not I would advocate for a law. And then when I said that I would not advocate for the law, you suggested I don't have a problem with it. I have massive problems with it. You're the one that doesn't have a problem with it.
Apparently not enough to suggest legislation.
Debate we are ever going to do. And I don't care if you lie about my views. Don't fuck kids.
So tell the people in this.
Pretty clear. You want to say anything about this?
Oh my! It's the fault. If you don't want a law against children having sex, you're in favor. Like, what sort of nonsense? Like, again, I agree with David. I just don't think he is very philosophically minded, because this is just a clear slippery slope fallacy or a black and white fallacy. It's like, do you even think beyond that? Like, and again, he should be in favor of laws where, like, if a woman acts out against her husband, she should be thrown in prison. The husband should not be taking matters into his own hands. But isn't he in favor of wife beating? So which is it, Daniel? You're now contradicting yourself from your prior conversations and lives and debates and all this stuff. Which is it? Do you want a law? Does people got to step in and punish? Or should the husband be the one who's taking care of this stuff? Pick a side, because you're inconsistent.
Yeah. Bradley Smith said, is this live or premiered? This right now is live. I hope you can tell. I don't know. It is definitely live. And by the way, Derek, Myth Vision Podcast is here. Derek, what's up? Dude, I think Christians and atheists can say amen to Matt Dillahunty on that one.
Yes, I'm doubly mad at Daniel, because not only is he just a horrible human being, he made me root for Matt Dillahunty. Like, how dare you? Like, I was just like, get him, Matt. Like, I couldn't believe I was like, in his corner on this one. I thought I was going to be like, well, I disagree with Daniel and Matt, but I found myself consistently far more in Matt's corner, even in the earlier part where they were debating if God exists, because Daniel's arguments were just atrociously bad. Like, he can't even use like a contingency argument or a moral argument. He's just like, well, people around the world think God exists. That's evidence he does. I'm like,
well, what else are you going to do? I believe in nothing and then, be depressed? You all have the intuition that there is something out there. So why don't you just believe? That was seriously, that's how you're going to go to a debate on beliefs. That is just ridiculous, man. But yeah, Derek said, I think Christians and atheists can say amen.
Amen.
Yeah, amen and a woman, as that one congressman once said in the cringiest way possible. I still have nightmares thinking about that.
What time marker we had? 2:33. Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to make this clear. So Daniel, I can't believe that he doesn't understand this. It's just hard for me to believe. But maybe it is true, because I don't think Daniel is a particularly stupid individual. I don't think he's a stupid human being. I think he is quite intelligent in different ways, and he should understand this stuff after thinking it through a little bit, or after having a few discussions with some people who think differently. If he keeps on insisting on, well, if you don't advocate for this law, then that means if you are for it, then that means you allow it. Then this is a very stupid way of thinking, and he either really is incapable of ever understanding that, or his intelligence is capped and limited because of his emotional and fanatical, attachment to these hardcore fundamental Islamic values that he wants to prefer over his own intellect.
I think if you want, like, I watched his series Genius of Islam, which is ironically doesn't have a lot of genius in it, or a lot of Islam.
Stupid.
It's like Genius Islam. It never talks about Islam or the genius of Islam. I'm like, what? Like, it's just him bashing like secular humanism or liberalism the whole time. And it's like the whole time I'm just like, okay, when do we get to the Islam part? Like, but like in that, it's the whole thing. It's like his argument is like, if you reject Islam, even like not only if you just reject it, if you're even like Javed Hashmi, where you're like a modernist Muslim, who's far cooler than Daniel by far, but if you just reject his super ultra traditional view of Islam, you go one step to the left of that, you start sliding down the slippery slope, and you're a secular humanist. You want to eat bugs and live in pods and have pleasure machines, and you're allowed to transition kids, and like that's his argument. So like his whole shtick that he builds around is like it's either his view or you slide down the slope, and that's just utter nonsense on so many levels. But that's why he's constantly doing this false dichotomy, because I think in his mind, I could be wrong about this, but in his mind, I think that he thinks if he goes one small step to the left, he's going to slide down the slope, and he'll just be to the left of like people like Matt Dillahunty, or like, the far left as we know it today, which is just not true. But that's how I think that's where he's coming from in this.
Yeah, I think he's an ultra crepidarian, as Dr. Yasser Qadi wants us to call people, because he likes to use words that nobody ever uses anymore. Apparently, that makes you cool and intelligent, all that. I just want to clarify. By the way, David just told me his internet is down, and he will come back once it starts working again. This is the terrible stuff that we're dealing with depending on it.
Tell him to just go on his phone or something.
I just did, but he probably doesn't know how to do that.
Good point. I didn't think of it like that. I forgot how much he hates technology and changing his ways. Like, he's still using these old streaming services where like I can't even share my screen on his channel. He's like, you got to email me everything so I can put it on. I'm like, dude,
I know.
Move the StreamYard. Like,
every new piece of technology, he's like, how does this work? What is this? What is this magic? He doesn't know. He can't figure it out.
See, that's what happens when you reject Islam. You can't work technology.
But I just want to make clear to Daniel Hikikichu, I don't think that he actually pays attention. I don't think he cares. I don't think he will even try to understand. But I just want to make it very simple. You can be very much against 9-year-old kids, or 11 or 10-year-old or 12-year-old kids having sexual interactions with each other, but you don't have to. Because of that, you don't have to advocate for laws which which ban those kids and also punish them if they do it, or which put them in prison, which put them in jail, whatever it is. For example, I can say I find it absolutely wrong for 9-year-olds to start engaging in sexual activities before they even understand what it is and what it means, which, by the way, is a very rare thing. Daniel apparently thinks that happens everywhere all the time. 9-year-olds having sex with each other all over America. But there are different ways you can tackle this. You can handle this, such as adults preventing such a thing from happening, stepping in and educating these people once they notice that something really messed up is going on, which never happens. By never, I'm being hyperbolic. Contrary to Daniel Kikichu's idea that is happening everywhere in America, you could step in and fix it in different ways. That being against laws or not advocating for laws to punish those kids does not mean you are okay with kids actually doing that. There are different ways of handling these things, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes when I'm bored, I like to listen to Daniel talk about the way he thinks like Christians, Jews, or atheists act, and it's just like the biggest like ridiculous caricature like you could ever hear. Like, atheists wake up and they just pee all over the walls, and then they go down to their 9-year-old and go, "It's time for you to transition from boy to girl and start having sex." And then the moment you suggest marriage, well, they don't even want, they just want to ban marriage. Like, it's like you're reading like Muslims in caves writing comics about what they think happens in the West. Like, it's the most ridiculous satire, but some of his fans just eat it up. And it's like, do you guys like ever go outside and talk to people? Like, this is just not the way people are.
Of course not. I think Daniel's average fan is, I don't want to put them down and talk badly about them now, but it's are often people that are very frustrated, very angry, don't have much experience with society, with other people, especially with non-Muslim people, I would say. It doesn't seem like he is talking to a very informed, very socially capable, very interesting, very I don't know, not a very bright audience overall. He's trying to appeal to those who would otherwise, if they weren't too lazy and too awkward, they would go and fight for some terrorist organization. But they can't do that because they're too shy. So they just sit down and listen to Daniel Kikichu. That's what it looks like. Stop listening to Daniel Kikichu. Daniel, stop lying. Stop being an idiot to people. Stop spreading these nonsensical, dumb ideas. Unless, of course, there is a different motive here. I don't know. I don't really know.
It's really weird. Like, I don't see how this is going to benefit Islam in the long run. I mean,
it doesn't.
It isn't. And I've talked to ex-Muslims that are just like disgusted at this stuff, and I'm seeing it more. Like, there was a guy I know on TikTok that I helped deconvert from Islam. Now he's a Christian, and so he cites some of this stuff occasionally. I mean, like, I did a live like a week ago on TikTok, and a Muslim came in who is from Albania. Well, he's ex-Muslim and said he's looking for a church now. And a lot of this stuff on my channel helped him leave that worldview. He said he wasn't like a strong practicing Muslim. He was sort of raised it. But yeah, I mean, like this flamboyant anti-intellectual nonsense, like, like the crap I've been dealing with lately, like Muhammad's in the Bible, which is on the level of flat earthism. It's on the level of flat earthism. Like, you're telling me to deny what my very eyes can look at and see. Like, I can see photos from space. The earth is round. I can read Deuteronomy 33. I can read Song of Solomon 5. These aren't about Muhammad. You're telling me.
You just don't see it. Muhammad is in the Bible. Of course he's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Christians and the Christians and Jews, they all missed it. They don't see it. They don't understand.
You just got to look at it like this. You just got to do this. When you're oh, there he is right there. Did I ever tell you I found Muhammad in the Bible? I did.
You did? Where
I found him in Numbers 22. In Numbers 22, AP. Whoa. Muhammad is in there. I'll tell you this flat. I'll prove it to everyone. In Numbers 22, there is a figure who comes from outside of Israel. Yes. And he prostrates himself before God. He has his mouth opened by an angel, and he speaks miraculously. And the pagan that is around him is stunned, but he starts to persecute this talking individual. He's so amazed, but he persecutes him. But even though an angel has opened his mouth and given him miraculous speak, this figure that came from outside of Israel to prophesy, you know who it is? It's Balaam's talking ass. It's clearly Muhammad.
Nice.
Muhammad is Balaam's talking ass. How can you deny all the correlations? And if you think that's crazy, that's what Dawa guys sound like when they tell you that Deuteronomy 33 or Song of Solomon 5 is about Muhammad. They do the exact same nonsense. Like, so yeah, from now on, as long as Dawa guys are going to do that, I'm going to say that Balaam's talking ass in Numbers 22 is really a prophecy of the coming Muhammad.
Yeah, Mario said,
So
"Don't give
Muhammad.
him any ideas." IP. They might start using that. Like, okay, maybe he's not mentioned in the best way, but at least he's there.
I would love that. I would love that. Please, yes, Muslims, use that. Tell us Muhammad is Balaam's talking ass. That's what I want to hear.
Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed took a break here from being an assassin and started and made a super chat. I'm a fan of the franchise, by the way. IP, AP, and David, my holy trinity. You can't say that, man. This is very disrespectful and blasphemous. My holy trinity, thank you for exposing all the bullshit and lies that come out of these Muslim apologetics. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Also became a member of the channel. Thank you. Now I have an assassin that I can send after all of these people. Thanks you for joining. I appreciate that very much. AP and David, you should add a room spray to your future merchant called Islam Repellent with Daniel's pictures on it.
That's good.
Good idea. Possibly. Anyway.
Tell the people in this country that are following secular humanism. Tell them they need to hear it more than anyone. Tell the secular humanists who are
secular humanists. I'm telling you, don't fuck kids and don't advocate for it.
Yeah,
and
maybe they need to
secular
follow
humanists
that. Maybe
say,
they need to follow.
Why
that.
would we do that? We've
maybe they need to
never
follow
done that. Nobody's ever done that.
Maybe they need to follow
you
that.
that have done that on stage.
The sexual revolution that had from
secular
a secular humanist
revolution
basis
was not about 9-year-olds.
Yes, it was.
No,
yes,
it wasn't.
You don't know about the Sexual Liberation Front? You don't know about NAMBLA? You don't know about all of these?
I know about NAMBLA,
movements?
and we've worked against NAMBLA.
Yes. Look at the
unlike you.
Stop interrupting me, okay? You got it. You got it
out.
No,
the no interruption shit is done when you start talking about whether or not 9-year-olds should be fucking.
Grandstand. Okay, you're not.
Okay. You know what's ironic is he's talking about the dangers of NAMBLA, but Daniel's the guy that has been promoting Bruce Ryan for years, who's spoken at conferences in the Netherlands that promote pedophilia or pedophilic interactions. Like Bruce Ryan is the famous psychologist who had this whole controversy where one of his studies was condemned by both houses of Congress because he was saying there's no damaging effects from men having sexual interaction with boys. And that's the guy that Daniel was promoting for years until I called him out on it and said, you've not read these guys' studies. You just read the abstract and assumed you knew what the studies were about. Because Bruce Ryan's in his papers, in his big famous meta-analysis that was super controversial. He says so girls, for example, they tend to report negative interactions from this type of this sexual interaction with older men. But the boys don't, according to Bruce Ryan. But now there are so many studies that have counteracted Bruce Ryan and showed that's not the case. Like there was an umbrella study done, I think, in the past few years that showed this. And I've cited it in some of my hangouts. I think when you were on my channel, we cited it there. But so Daniel's attacking Matt here, pulling up NAMBLA. He needs to look in the mirror. He's the one who's been promoting Bruce Ryan for years. So, not directly, but like accidentally, I would say he's promoting studies that NAMBLA has used. Like in my debate with Daniel, he cited this Bruce Ryan meta-analysis. NAMBLA has used that meta-analysis. Like that's what's one of the controversial things about it is that NAMBLA uses it. And Daniel uses it. So it's just such an ironic point for him to bring up. He's attacking Matt and trying to throw NAMBLA in this when he's the one who's been on the same side with NAMBLA without even realizing it.
Let's clarify for those who are not aware of what this is and what we're talking about. So NAMBLA is an organization that is an extremely unpopular, very, very, very unpopular, very terrible, disgraced organization that advocates for lowering the age of consent and for basically pedophilia. That's how it's described: pedophilia and pedophilia. And it emerged around the same time that the sexual revolution was, was taking shape and taking place. However, it wasn't supported by the vast majority of people who, for example, went with that movement or who were secularists or humanists or whatever it is. So it is an incredibly unpopular organization. It is an incredibly shady organization with very few members And in fact, they held illegal meetings and were often infiltrated by police and by detectives that took names of people who go there in order to crack down on actual pedophiles. And what Daniel here is doing is, this is what he always does. This is a very good example of what he always does with his fallacies. He tries to discredit entire ideas, entire groups, by going and picking some very unpopular, publicly disliked little movement or little group, little spark somewhere, and says, look at this, look at this, you are all this is what comes from you, this is how bad you guys are because of that little group there, which everyone among you rejects, but that's nevertheless one of you, so that means you are all just like that. That's what he basically does. Your movement is completely wrong because there's a tiny little group there which nobody likes, but because of the existence of the tiny group, you are all like that. This would be like us sitting here and arguing that some the most messed up groups within the Islamic world, within the Islamic framework, within Islam, would be, could be taken as an example to declare that all of Islam is absolutely horrible because there's this little group among the Islamists that advocate for going out there and killing and brutally raping and maybe eating other human beings. This is just a completely dishonest, deceptive, nonsensical tactic. It's a fallacy, and it's a clear sign of very, very bad faith debate on Daniel Kikichu's part.
Yeah, if you want, I got the study. You can put it up there, and I'll just show what study Daniel has cited. This is a study that NAMBLA has used, and Daniel used in my debate with him. This is the famous meta-analysis.
Oh, wait. David, what's up? Hey.
Oh, he's back.
I'm shocked. I'm at 0.08. I'm on my phone right now. I'm at 0.08. Anyway, been having internet problems here. It's usually in the middle of the night when no one notices except me because I'm up. But yeah, this time it went out now, which sucks because I was in the middle of a live stream and my wife was in the middle of an online class. But
you were in the middle of a live stream? Oh, okay, interesting. Nothing.
Yeah. How's this work? How's this work, by the way? I can't tell on my phone here.
I mean, it's okay. You just need to stop waving your phone around. Like, see if you can set it somewhere and just sit it there like a still camera.
It is stuttering. The video is kind of lagging badly, but the audio seems very, very okay. But it does look like there is a lag in the audio where you hear what we are saying a little bit later.
Hence me saying I shouldn't go on because I have a bad internet connection, and you saying no, do it anyway.
Yeah.
I had the actual text from you saying no, come on anyway.
You will use it as proof. No,
don't you think this is going to be a distraction that I should therefore wait until the internet starts working again?
No, you shouldn't wait. It's pretty.
Okay, I'll just sit there.
It's quite okay. We can. I just noticed that there is no big discrepancy in the audio transmission either, so everything is cool. You have no excuse. Since that excuse has crumbled, what else are you going to say? You're finished, boy. You're finished, boy. Wait.
You see, Allah has punished your internet connection.
Yeah. Okay. So Mike.
He brings up NAMBLA and tries to associate NAMBLA with Matt's views. But this is a study that Daniel Kikichu has cited and NAMBLA has cited. Daniel cited this in my debate with him as evidence that child marriage should be allowed. But Daniel did not read it, because if you go down to the conclusions, and I went through and highlighted as much as I could when I was going through, because I actually read the study, like unlike Daniel Kikichu, but
he read the abstract.
Conclusions. Yeah. He probably did. Yeah, he says, in general, findings from the current review suggest that socio-legal definitions of child sexual abuse have more scientific validity in the case of female children in adolescence than for male children in adolescence, given the higher rate of unwanted negative experiences for women. So he's using this argument, this paper here, to argue for child marriage. And they're saying that women have negative experiences from sexual relationship with older men when they're being abused. And Ryan's argument is that the study authors here is that the boys don't report negative interaction. So this is why NAMBLA used this study. They cherry-picked this one study because so many other ones found negative interactions for boys and girls. But NAMBLA cherry-picked this study. Daniel cited it, but at least NAMBLA read it Daniel didn't even read it, and yet they're on the same page citing this paper that they cherry picked.
This is very funny. It's Daniel Hikikichu basically discrediting others and equating them with Ambler, but then it is him who actually engages in their very tactics, and probably unknowingly, he's not that good with sticking to the actual paper and reading it. As he pointed out before, he reads the abstract and then makes up his opinion about what the research paper actually says without reading the paper itself, and that's just, maybe he can't read very well. I don't know what else to say.
I don't know. I would, man, there's an umbrella study that was published recently that included this meta-analysis and like numerous other meta-analysis, and said no, typically boys and girls have negative interactions and have mental disorders from these types of interactions. They just will note that typically if the child gets counseling and they go through therapy, it's very unlikely to be permanent damage unless it's severe. So that's at least a good thing. But Ryan's paper has been criticized by a lot of people. If you read Anna Sattler's book, Predators, another thing I read in preparation for my debate with Daniel, she notes that this study that I'm looking at on the screen right now has been heavily criticized by other psychologists for limited data, methodological issues, and again, just cherry picking. So, but again, this is the standard of evidence you get from like organizations like NAMBLA or Daniel. I mean, it's pathetic.
It is pathetic. Okay, let us continue.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him again?
Just died again. Yeah.
Amateur hour.
David is dead. Would you have Thomas Alexander? Who is Thomas Alexander? Would you have Thomas Alexander? Or Thomas? I don't know who Thomas Alexander is.
I haven't heard of him either.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Nobody knows. All right.
Some hero here. You're not some hero. Wow!
I'm the guy that's here debating and
amazing. You're so heroic, man.
And you're such a hero. Kids.
No, look at this guy, man. Look at perverse. Look at your sick mind. Okay.
Sick mind.
Why is Matt the one that has a sick mind when he says don't F kids? Because you are the one advocating for marrying and having sex with little children. What in the how is he the one who has a sick mind?
Everything is backwards in Islam. That's the only logical explanation here. You have a sick mind if you want to sleep with adults. Maybe it's you should be. Remember after my debate, Daniel was actually advocating. He cited this paper. He cited a graph he found on Reddit that we exposed on my channel. It linked to a paper, and he was trying to argue that men are just naturally attracted to 13 and 14-year-olds. These are the ages they just naturally pick. And then you and I on my channel looked at that graph and went to the actual study. And the study didn't actually say that. It said the opposite. But Daniel didn't even look at the study. He just found a graph of the study, and he tried to argue that men are just naturally attracted to 14-year-olds. So maybe in Daniel's mind, he thinks that it's sick and perverted if you're not attracted to a 14-year-old, because that's what he was directly advocating for in those live streams we were doing back and forth with him.
Yeah. Imagine we're having a discussion here. Let's just dumb this down and make it very simple. We're having a discussion. This guy comes and says, so I think it should be completely acceptable for 50-year-old men to marry and have sex with 5-year-old girls, or let's say 9-year-old girls once they show signs of puberty. And I then say, what? Don't F kids. And you're like, what? Look at this guy's perverted mind. But wait a second.
That's what basically just happened here.
Wow, man. This is ridiculous. It's like a parody. It's like, this can't be real.
Fine.
Well, how about we talk about your
sick mind?
You want to talk about your personal
liar advocating for child marriage and sex is talking about my sick mind while inventing a fantasy.
Come on, James. Some moderation here.
Come on. Okay.
Just shouting the F word is not an argument. Just shouting.
Correct. And neither is saying we should let 9-year-olds marry.
Yeah. So we don't need to talk about personal life. Okay. You don't need to make any accusations against me. I don't talk about your boyfriend, so don't talk about me. So the thing about this whole argument.
Is there any other part that you want to go to, or should we just continue here?
We could go to his lovely pleasure machine You know, like that's his whole entire opening statement for this section of the debate. His whole Daniel's opening section is him going on for like 10 minutes about how this fantasy world where like these people make a pleasure machine and everyone wants to get the pleasure machine, but Muslims are going, no, we don't want the pleasure machines because they're ruining families. Like
that was I watched it live, and that was a cringy, stupid thing that he talked about.
It was pure cringe. It was pure unadulterated cringe that's not been altered by any sort of additives or anything. It's like the pure cringe you just get from the ground. It just, wow, that was something. I kept listening to that part as I'm driving, going, is he ever going to get to the punchline? Like, we get your stupid story. People will like pleasure. What's your point here? Like, I even as a Christian, like I'm going, they're going like, this is not helping your case against secular humanism because, like, there's so many things I could just, if I'm trying to steal me into secular humanists, they're going to disagree with this scenario because
I also heard him say before something like that if you eat an unlimited amount of candy and nobody stops you, then you will get sick and you will die. And that's what liberalism basically is. It's just unlimited pleasure, unlimited candy. If you eat it all, you will die. You have to have a limit. Like, are you dumb, man? I just don't. Yeah. This is a summary of how Daniel Kikachu thinks. But let us have a listen to it a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what he's doing is I think, and if I'm trying to be a little bit more charitable, I think he's trying to build up Jonathan Haidt's work about these different moral foundations people have. And typically liberals tend to focus more on care and harm or equality. It's like there are two things, whereas like conservatives have they have more moral foundations. So they'll focus on care, they'll focus on equality, but also liberty, purity, authority, and loyalty, I think, are the six. And so liberals just tend to focus more on two, and conservatives tend to focus on all six. But that doesn't mean that liberals think that purity and authority are things that should be thrown out of the water. Like if you read Jonathan Haidt, he'll note that when liberals are asked about certain authority figures, they think they should be respected, like teachers, for example, like public school teachers, that children need to respect their authority as a moral foundation. They just tend to focus more on care and equality as moral foundations than these other ones. So Daniel ignores like that whole aspect of this thing and just says, well, that's all that liberals care about. They just want care. They just want pleasure. That's all they really want. And that's just simply a huge straw man. His entire view of Christians or Jews or secular humanists, just utter satire. It's so bad, it's comical.
No, you're just being Islamophobic here.
To know the value of life unplugged. So Pleasure Inc. focuses on the younger.
Okay, where does he start about? Let's see, where does he start talking about Pleasure Inc.? This is, for those who haven't watched this,
it's pretty ridiculous. It's like we should go back to his whole opening statement here.
Pleasure.
I think it's.
We look for pleasure. People talking about the pleasure machine in the comments.
I mean, like it was like a 10-minute thing. I think he starts at 2:16, I believe.
Yeah, 2:16. I have it here. By the way, I want to quickly do something here. For those who know Daniel Kikachu, he is somebody who likes to appeal to comment sections, to audiences. He likes to encourage his trolls, send them over, try to make himself look victorious and his opponent ridiculous. And then he picks out comments that he cherry picks and says, "Look at that! Look, even they agree with me." If we want to play his tricks, we should maybe just look at the comment section here and see what the average person here thinks of Daniel Kikachu.
Yeah, it's actually in favor of Matt as far as what I saw in this section here. But I love getting comments like that because like even after my debate, like I remember getting comments like from like this, like I was a devout Christian for 30 years, and after watching your debate with Daniel Kikachu, I'm now a Salafi. Like I've just converted, like on the spot. I was a bishop in Rome serving the Pope himself, and now because of this debate, I have become a Muslim. Like it's like,
yeah, like here's one. Love how Daniel has no problem defending obviously horrible things when he has to pretend the Quran is the truth, but starts crying when Matt points out what he has said.
I guarantee there's some comment down there going like,
Not
I was
Daniel.
an atheist.
Yeah.
I was a transgender atheist, and now I've converted to Islam. Like,
But
you'll see those
here's
in
what
here.
people think. Daniel getting angry at someone in the public laughing about his ridiculous arguments. He did start fighting and calling out people in the audience because they were laughing at him, and he started fighting with the audience, which is the dumbest thing that you can do in a public debate, probably. I don't know. Either Daniel is playing a character or he is seriously misinformed. The amount of absurdities he spewed throughout this entire debate is laughable. Daniel Hikikuchu is the king of making false equivalences. You support forcing children to go to school, therefore forcing them to marry is fine. Apparently, giving the child an education is the same as forcing to marry a 6-year-old. So Daniel looked so proud of himself that he got that jab in about art, and he must have been sitting on it for a while. It's funny how those who claim how moral they are turn out to be the worst among us. I've never seen someone in my life strawman more than Daniel. That was an absolutely incredible display of strawman. Bravo. So the comment section, Daniel, since you care so much about public opinion, about what people apparently allegedly say about the debaters, here, this is what the comment section thinks about what you are doing, about your performance. I'm sure everything is going according to plan here. Yeah. Anyway.
There was a comment I saw. I went and just found that it's apparently someone said, I can't believe he suggested that not only Mike Jones, but also Matt Dillahunty is okay with kids having sex when he was the one literally arguing for it in the debate. What a POS. I can't blame Matt for getting spicy with him. I'm like, yeah.
I can't believe he suggested it. Yeah, that's right here.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I laughed in the car because I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, you can't if you buy this crap, I'm sorry, you're not a critical thinker. I mean, like, clearly he's the one advocating for that, but he wants to pretend we are. Like, come on. This is stupid.
This is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. He is dishonest, and I don't know. I just, for every single time that I or anyone else said that Daniel is at least honest, I regret it. I take it all back. He's definitely not the honest one here.
Thank you very much. Well, thanks for that opening, Matt. We'll kick it over to Daniel for his 10-minute opening as well.
Oh, he started with that right away, right? Okay.
Daniel,
he does, yeah.
The floor is all yours.
God, this is so dumb.
It's so ridiculous. He wrote this out, too. He wrote this out.
Here's a thought experiment. Imagine there's a company called Pleasure Inc., and they invent the pleasure machine. You strap a person in, pull down the virtual reality helmet, plug in a few diodes into the skull that tap into the pleasure centers of the brain. You pull the switch, and then pure unadulterated bliss. The brain implants and the VR are so powerful that any pleasurable experience you want to have, you can have it. You can satisfy basic bodily pleasures, but the tech is so advanced that you can simulate any desire. You want to vacation on the beach with supermodels? No problem. You want to travel the world and sample cuisine from every region? No problem. Every form of pleasure and entertainment is now at your fingertips. The pleasure machine comes on market and is heavily advertised. People start using it for recreation on the weekends, but the machine works too well. People can't get themselves off of it. Eventually, pleasure machine users are strapped in for 10, 15, even 20 hours a day. They can't stop using it. The constant supply of dopamine is too much to resist. Before the pleasure machine, people had time for their extended families. People would get together with aunts, uncles, cousins. If you had elderly parents, you would take care of them. If you had grandparents, you could spend time with them. But
you know what? During this whole time, I thought, I wish he could hear the live chat here. You know? Since he cares so much about what people think.
It sounds like it's like the one comment there. It sounds like a Black Mirror episode. Like this is dystopian. Like. Do we really think humans are so like this is my problem with like Muslim apologists like Daniel is they think humans are so simple and stupid that we just resort to basic instincts with whatever. This is why women have to cover themselves constantly, because if they show a little bit of ankle, the men are going to go crazy and just start raping them. Like it's like maybe sometimes people don't resort to basic instincts and pleasure constantly like we desire the higher purposes. Like you should read Isaiah Berlin on the difference between positive and negative freedom here. I mean, like there's a lot more to humanity than this.
It's like all of those dystopian stories, those dystopian fantasies that were kind of crafted in the early 20th century. I don't know whether you want to talk about 1984 or Brave New World, or even Animal Farm, which is more of an allegorical thing. But when you read those books, they all have what they have in common is they depict an absurdly, insanely dystopian world. And if you sit down and take it literally and think this is what the world could really look like, then that's probably a little bit far-fetched and absurd. But if you take it as just as a story that sends a message but depicts things in an obviously unrealistic way, then you might be getting it a little bit more right. And what Daniel is doing here is he's taking all of that way too literally, and basically sitting down in the early 20th century and thinking, oh, think about a future where humans will have no social life anymore. Nobody will talk to each other. Nobody will interact with each other because there is this pleasure machine and they are all hooked to this and they are consuming to no end. This is what will happen if you keep going with liberalism, if you don't follow Islam. It's just so ridiculously dumb. I mean, people wrote these books over 100 years ago, Daniel, and you're coming up with that now. So.
Yeah, well, it's just we know that humans actually desire more. Humans desire purpose, family, to be a part of a community. Like this is the like if you've seen that trend happening on TikTok where women are asking men how much they think about the Roman Empire, and men are going like once a day or once a week kind of thing, and women are stunned. And it's like, well, sometimes men have this yearning to be a part of something bigger than themselves or to sacrifice themselves for something greater than themselves. It's not just all about pleasure. Human psychology is very complex. And so I don't think we would live in this dystopian world because humans are just going to start naturally seeking not the simple pleasures, but the higher pleasures like purpose and meaning and the contact with the sacred and these types of things.
Yeah, why is the comment section talking about Candace Owens? I don't really understand what's happening.
Oh, let's not even get into that.
Candace Owens has no place anywhere here. I wanted to say something more direct, but Candace Owens has me blocked because I told her my actual opinion. So why would you come here and advocate for Candace Owens? Candace Owens is a dishonest, terrible person to look at for information.
Sometimes I get a little jealous of all the people that have blocked you. I'm like, oh, why am I not that cool? Like I was a little annoyed for a while because like, you and D Wood and me were all like attacking Tate, and like he blocked you two, but he didn't block me, even though I was. And then finally Tate blocked me, and I finally felt like I was in the club. Like it was nice.
Yeah, and you can never reach my high tier in the club of being blocked by so many people, including Candace Owens. And it's not like it's not like she blocked me because I said something terrible to her. It's just that I pointed out the stuff that Andrew Tate actually did, and her basically promoting him and showing a video, and then she immediately blocked me.
I am all for blocking people if they insult you, if they do character assassination. Like, yeah, but if you're just like pointing out like the obvious facts, like with Tate, like there's no reason to do that.
Yeah, she is a terrible. I don't think that she has an ounce of honesty. She's just a grifter. She will sell her butt for recognition and whatever it is. And if you think she's a reliable, trustworthy source of information, you need to rethink everything. But anyway, enough about Tate. Did you want to say something?
No, I stay out of politics, so I don't even know her politics, so I won't even comment on it.
Her politics are whatever some guys who are in her comment section want her to be. That's basically it.
More people get hooked on the pleasure machine. There's no time for extended family. And let's be honest, what's more fun, fulfilling any fantasy or sitting and talking with grandma? As the pleasure machine continues to spread, the whole concept of extended family dies off. People only have time for their spouse and their kids, but even this nuclear family gradually becomes too much of a burden. The only thing that people want to do is to plug themselves in. Over time, pleasure machines get a bad reputation for disrupting families, and sales start to drop. Pleasure Inc. realizes it needs a new strategy. First of all, let's improve the machine so that people don't have to worry about unplugging themselves to eat.
Anything the body needs biologically can now be supplied by the machine so that hypothetically you can stay plugged in nonstop. Second, let's get the government to subsidize the machines. We want to make sure that anyone who wants a pleasure machine can afford to get one, even if it takes government assistance.
Sign me up. Send me one. Where can I buy it?
This is a
Can I
long
invest
way
in it? I want to invest in the stock of this.
Ooh, I feel really bad for Daniel's grandma. Like, is this a long way of saying he doesn't want to talk to his grandma? Like, it's really boring, grandma, when we have to talk so much. This whole analogy of a pleasure machine just to make that note, grandma. Could you try to be a little more exciting so I don't have to get a pleasure machine eventually to deal with all the boredom?
If there was a stock for this, I would immediately want to buy it, invest in this. It sounds like a very interesting thing to make
like
a lot
what-
of money off, but it's very unrealistic, unfortunately.
I like what Daniel's building up to, that if you become a secular liberal, you will eventually be plugged into the matrix. That's what this is all about. You're going to be in the matrix. This is what him and the tater are trying to stop. The matrix is coming through the pleasure machines here. It's going to happen. And then we'll all be living in the matrix, and then eventually we'll have regular jobs in the matrix and have to do normal things. And so we'll just be back where we were. The cycle will continue.
The funny thing is, the entire time as he was talking about the pleasure machine, I kept thinking, it sounds like he's talking about some sex toys or something like that. You know?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what is he going on about? What are these fantasies? Like, could you actually make an argument and stop talking about how much great these pleasure machines are? Like,
Man, and he actually sat down and put this together, and I thought, yeah, this is a brilliant idea. Wow, let me add this here and that here. Wow, this will make it even more understandable, and this will highlight how bad it really is and how much you should not have the pleasure machine because it is actually bad. This is brilliant. I will convince so many people with this. And the reaction is like, what are you talking about, man?
This is what he thinks. This is what he thinks of anyone who's not a Muslim, that we are just these basic subhuman cavemen that just me want pleasure, me no need anything. Like,
Pretty much.
unless you got Islam, that's all you think about, according to him. It's such a caricature.
Yeah.
Third, more aggressive marketing techniques are needed. People who oppose the pleasure machine say that it destroys marriage, destroys families. Now they're even saying it destroys cultures and religions because maintaining culture or religious traditions requires people to make an effort, to work hard, to make personal sacrifices, not to mention maintain bonds with others. How can you do any of that if you're strapped into a pleasure machine for most of the hours of the day? In the beginning,
Is the strap? Well, I hate when someone comes at me with a strapped-on pleasure machine. Oh man, those are the worst days. I think we should do a commercial where we take his talk here about it and just put sensual music under it, and Daniel's going, "The pleasure machine."
I know it sounded like
he's strapped in for days.
Yeah, it sounded like he's
Endless
advertising this
pleasure.
thing. That's amazing, man. Amazing. You could take this and make a parody with it. I want to take this whole script of him ranting about the pleasure machine and want to type it to Chat GPT and see what it says.
This is a commercial in the making.
Use the machines, and then sometimes they'd miss prayers. Sometimes they'd miss going to church.
Oh no!
Then they start.
Oh no! They miss prayers. They miss one of the 5 daily prayers. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what the future will look like? Like every Muslim around the world. Oh no!
Missing major holidays like fasting in Ramadan and other important cultural rituals.
No, we can't have that.
So the opponent
just like every Muslim around the world does today anyway. Oh no!
of the pleasure machines now claim that the product not only destroys marriage, family, and culture, but also community and religion. How do we counter that in our marketing? Well, it's hard to deny the accusation, so let's embrace it. Let's tell people that the pleasure machine is actually liberating people from the shackles. Marriage, family, community, and religion are all sources of so much toil and headache.
I just want to add some dramatic Islamic humming music to this to make it
You know, I know D. Wood has cited some negative effects from Ramadan, but I actually found an interesting study on infant health in India showed that Ramadan leads to low birth weight in girls and boys, like in infants itself. It's actually kind of interesting.
That's good. It's an alternative to working out and all of that. Otherwise,
yeah, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's good. It's pretty good. Let's see.
Yeah. We're 4 minutes into his opening, by the way, and he's still going on about pleasure machines. Like this is his opening statement, ladies and gentlemen. This is him. This is what he thinks is going to be his argument. Oh yes.
Okay, I can't use this one. I already use this for my intro. This, by the way, this is the one. This is without the beat.
You gotta modify your opening so that randomly in your opening you just hear Daniel go pleasure machine.
I wanted to play some dramatic music in the back while he's doing this, or some dramatic Islamic music while he's doing this. But unfortunately, I can't find anything right now. Apparently, I have nothing saved. Terrible.
This is amateur hour.
Amateur. Anyway.
Why bother with that when you can enjoy limitless pleasure? The pleasure machine is the great liberator. Furthermore, marriage, family, and religion are the source of so much pain and suffering.
Reach ultimate pleasure with the pleasure machine.
What is his view of Islamic heaven? It sounds like the pleasure machine.
I know that's immediately what I thought, because he's basically describing what the Islamic heaven looks like. In the Islamic heaven, you go and you sit in a row with all of your Islamic buddies with their beards and their dresses, and you recline on these thrones, and you drink out of these cups. You drink wine. There rivers of wine are flowing. You have your virgins that are specifically made for you, designed for you by Allah, that you have sex with all of them whenever you want. It's just ultimate pleasure all the time, just bodily pleasures.
So it seems like Daniel should be in favor of these pleasure machines because it's just bringing Islamic heaven to earth for everybody ahead of time, so he can get his reward right now. What is he upset about?
He doesn't want humans. He doesn't want humans to steal Allah's idea, because Allah is already. Allah has the pleasure machine, and he's going to make everyone have it in heaven. That's
what this is. He's advertising for Islam right now about the pleasure. Guys, join Islam. You get a pleasure machine when you die. Come on, join Islam. Think about how wonderful this is.
Join Islam and reach ultimate pleasure with the pleasure machine. You pleasure life is
opening statement I've ever heard from any debate ever.
Pleasure like you have never experienced it before. You will get it right here in Islam. Ultimate pleasure.
Who doesn't have conflict with parents? Who doesn't have an insensitive spouse? Who doesn't feel judged when going to church or the mosque? To make matters worse, these institutions are also rife with abuse. There's domestic abuse, child abuse, abuse in the church and the mosque. Also, these institutions are rife with unjust hierarchies and inequality and lack of consent. The pleasure machine, on the other hand, is the great equalizer. When you're strapped in, you can enjoy yourself as much as the elites.
Look how excited he is.
Man, he needs to stop saying strap on. I feel like that's a Freudian slip. What is he doing? Like, and again, this is just you could just replace pleasure machine with Islamic heaven.
Pleasure machine.
It's so gross. But stop saying that term, dude. Like, don't you know innuendo? Like,
be scared of the strap-on pleasure machine. It's coming for you. Run away when you see the strap-on pleasure.
Like, you got to stop with that terminology, man. It's not healthy. But like, you could just take his entire opening statement, switch out pleasure machine, replace it with Islamic heaven. It'd be the exact same thing.
Man, this is just funny. I love how Matt is just sitting there and taking it all in. Like,
I can almost hear Matt's thoughts. Like, how did I get sucked into this? When is this over? I just want to go home and not deal with this anymore.
Is the great equalizer. When you're strapped in, you can enjoy yourself as much as the elites. Everyone is equal in the pleasure machine. This is the marketing we need to push through TV, movies, music, books, social media. And if anyone opposes our product, we simply accuse them of being backwards, irrational, and filled with hate. How can you reject
Everyone's equal when I strap on my pleasure machine. I'll comfort you all. There are no favorites.
This is so ridiculous, man. Daniel, I don't know if you thought this would go over very well with the audiences, but I think of something new, man.
Yeah, does he think we would be sitting here going, "Oh yes, very inquisitive"?
So deep. Huh.
This Islamic heaven, I mean, pleasure machine is really a problem that we should not want. I mean, yes. I see. Here, sir. Yes.
We should turn it. We should make a book. We should sign a contract and write a book on this. Please write for us, Daniel. Write a whole book about the pleasure machine. Let us turn this into a movie. And we already have some specific actresses and actors in mind for this pleasure machine. It will be very enjoyable. Please let us do this, Daniel.
We are halfway through his opening statement, and he's still going on about his strap-on pleasure machine. I can't even say it.
And equality. Are you a fan of domestic abuse? Are you a fan of child molestation, of white supremacy, of religious bigotry? What are you, some kind of terrorist? Pleasure Inc. realizes that the older generations are going to be wiser and won't be the biggest advocates of their product because they have more life experience and know the value of life unplugged. So Pleasure Inc. focuses on the younger generations with targeted ads on TikTok and elsewhere.
Look at Matt.
So Pleasure Inc. focuses on the younger generations with targeted.
Look at Matt has got a look on his face like, are we almost, like, it's the same face I had. Are we almost done with this analogy? Like, could you just get there?
He's laughing in his head, but he's not letting it out.
The value of life unplugged. So Pleasure Inc. focuses on the younger generations with targeted ads on TikTok and elsewhere. Pleasure Inc. also wants its message of equality and liberation to reach youth in schools. Let's make sure that all schools raise awareness about the benefits of using the pleasure machine and how not using it can cause pain and suffering in life. Adoption of the pleasure machine continues to spread at a rapid pace, and Pleasure Inc. decides to break into new markets internationally. The only problem is many countries are banning the pleasure machine. They don't want their societies being disrupted, their cultures and religions being.
This is so stupid.
Yes,
but thank you for bringing
exactly.
up Good Inc. Totally.
We don't want Islam disrupting our society with your Islamic heaven ideas and fantasies, Daniel. That's why we're banning it. Like, yes. So Daniel now says that the good thing for society to do would be to ban Islam and his Islamic heaven views of pleasure machines that you strap on and go after everyone with. And, like again, everything he's saying is just Islamic heaven. I don't get his point here. Like, does he not hear himself? Like,
we don't want your strap-on machine. We don't want it. Get out of there. Get out with it. We don't want it.
Wiped out with the introduction of this technology, but due to heavy lobbying, Pleasure Inc. has infiltrated every level of Western government, and they leverage their connections to pass new international law. The new law is that every nation must allow their citizens to buy a pleasure machine. Not only that, but every nation must subsidize the pleasure machine to make it available to every citizen. This is a moral imperative. Why? Because the pleasure machine, as we know, is the great liberator and the great equalizer. If nations.
So in the West, liberalism as an idea took hold very much across the Western world, became established. People started sympathizing with it, personally adopting it, personally thinking, hey, it's a good idea if we establish societies where we leave each other alone as long as nobody harms each other, and where we actually care about happiness, and where we maximize human happiness, and where we reduce human suffering, and where we prevent each other from causing suffering on others. Lots of very reputable, very respectable people turned that idea into a more coherent set of thoughts and wrote books on this. People discussed this in institutions and schools forever. The idea of liberalism became very much entrenched in Western society. But he thinks, no, that idea, that was set up. That idea is all just about pleasure. All about pleasure, just giving you pleasure, like the pleasure machine, and denying all kinds of thinking for yourself and all kinds of traditional thought. It's all about pleasure, all about having all these delicious pleasures in life, and it was forced upon society. It was forced. It was basically people were forced to accept it. What in the hell is this?
Yes, we need Islam force on the society where you are promised pleasure machines in heaven. This is.
Man, this is just so ridiculous. Like, it's like this guy is so frustrated, so angry at society because he himself does not enjoy these ideas of of others being allowed to live as they wish, because he can't live as he wishes because he doesn't have what it takes. I guess I don't know what it is, and now he's ranting about it and wanting to impose a system where nobody will ever be allowed to do what they want.
It's really just like, I don't get the whole point of this analogy. Like he's not against pleasure, but at the same time, because again, that's Islamic heaven. Why would it be bad? Like, if a Muslim society decided that, like, we can have pleasure machines, they're just going to be Islamic style, so like no alcohol, but you still get all your virgins now, would that be wrong for them in their understanding of pleasure? From my Christian background, yes, I'd be opposed to these things, because the whole point of Christianity is denying the higher things of life, like purpose and meaning and finding virtue and becoming a virtuous person. But I just don't understand the analogy, because the more you think about it, what is he attacking? He's attacking the Islamic view of heaven this whole time.
Yeah, but it's okay, because in Islamic heaven you are supposed to have ultimate pleasure only, but in this life, not. In this life, you are supposed to find the meaning and then go and have eternal pleasure, then have pleasure forever. Apparently, it's okay if it's in the afterlife, because you're supposed to find you're supposed to find the afterlife on here, but it's not okay to have that here in this real world. If you apply it to this world, it's bad. If you apply it to the other world that comes after death, it's good. But that doesn't really that doesn't really work, Daniel, because
this is what happens when you follow Balaam's talking ass. You just show up into these conundrums you can't get yourself out of.
That's not really so. Is such a thing now bad or not, Daniel? Is it now good or is it bad? Like, please decide.
Is he almost done with the analogy? Because again, it's so
No,
long.
Let's see. Yeah, I think it felt like an eternity.
Take access to the pleasure machine. That's a violation of human rights. Every human must have access to the pleasure machine, and only the most evil totalitarian regimes would keep their people under the boot by not letting them entertain every single desire. Despite the new international laws, some rogue nations continue to resist. These nations are portrayed.
By the way, it's very funny that this is how he defends his Islamic societies, which want to implement laws like forcing everybody to abide by Islamic laws, killing those who leave Islam, killing those who engage in adultery, killing homosexuals, publicly torturing people who engage in fornication, publicly banning and fighting those people who want to convert Muslims, enslaving other humans. He's like, that is his response. Like,
so what we were learning from Daniel,
things. If you don't do those things, then you are basically a servant of the evil strap-on pleasure machine.
So what we're learning from Daniel is a dystopian world will be where authoritarian figures force their will upon you with the promise of pleasure machines. Islam, like, I don't know any way to put this, Daniel. You're basically showing that Islam is a dystopia.
Yeah. So they should not be allowed to brainwash you into buying the pleasure machine. No, we should be allowed to instead forcibly remove that pleasure machine and force you to abide by Islamic laws entirely, and kill you if you resist, and torture you and make a public display out of you and enslave you if you resist, so that we can give you the pleasure machine after you die.
Yes, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Just getting that pleasure machine.
Yeah.
Strap it on, baby.
This is absolutely ridiculous, and you sound dumb, idiotic as hell, Daniel.
As terrorists and human rights violators in the media. The news shows images of little children covered in dirt, little girls crying. Look at these poor suffering children. What kind of evil monsters would prevent these precious darlings from using the pleasure machine?
Whoa. Why does he want to use his strap-on pleasure machine on children? Okay, we've heard enough here, Daniel. I think all right. Someone better call the FBI. I don't. This is getting kind of scary.
By the way, yes, interesting, but I just noticed what he's referencing here, and it's pretty I don't know how you would probably call it evil, but what he's referencing here is this. Let me see if I have that on here. Can I play this on here? Let me see.
Assalamualaikum.
Oh no, that's not it. What was that? There was a clip of Daniel Kikuchu mocking kids in Afghanistan.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
because they are no longer allowed to go to school.
Yes,
and he mocked that. He mocked those girls playing like, "Oh, I can't go to school."
Here's the funny thing: is he mocked girls for wanting the higher things in life, education, bettering themselves. They should just be submissive in Islam and get their pleasure machine when they die. That's what Daniel wants. He doesn't want anyone to chase the higher things of life, like education or getting a fulfilling career, for example. No, they need to be submissive, just go through the Islamic motion so that when they die, they get their pleasure machine. That's what he really wants here.
Yeah. But so this is what's happening here when he says, when he talks about this dystopia where they highlight, sad girls and kids in that Muslim world that doesn't allow the pleasure machine. He's talking about basically that, about how in today's time in Afghanistan, girls are banned from going to school, and there are videos out there of girls crying about this because they want to go to school, and he's making an equation there because he finds it very stupid that people feel sad because those girls shouldn't be going to schools. They shouldn't go to school. They shouldn't be allowed to go to school. Women should not go to school. That's what he thinks. Women shouldn't be allowed to go to school because if you send women to school, then you are basically opening the doors to the decline of humanity, of society as we know it, and women end up being whores.
Yes,
that's what he believes in.
You let your daughters start kindergarten. Next thing you know, they're in first grade, and then they're on OnlyFans. It's one step from kindergarten to OnlyFans, ladies and gentlemen. Do not let girls go to school because Daniel knows what's best.
This is just, oh my God.
Nation dies off due to starvation. That's a price we're willing to pay to make sure the other half of the population gets access to the pleasure machine. And if these terrorists still refuse, we'll just...
He keeps going. This is his opening statement. Like, he's got 10 minutes. He's been going for what? 7 minutes at this point? And it's all just pleasure machine this, pleasure machine that. Let me strap this on, baby. I'll tell you how great it is. I don't want to spend time with my grandma. I want my strap-on pleasure machine.
Hey, David just noticed that you can leave comments here in the comment section, in the chat. See?
Well, yes, it's about time. Where has he been? Freaking amateur, hiding in his internet cave that he lives in or something?
He can't figure out how his internet works, and now he's telling us my internet is down.
He's missing so many good one-liners he could be using right now. And he's not.
He should be here mocking the pleasure machine, the strap-on pleasure machine, and he's there hiding. You're hiding, boy.
I mean, I would run too if I saw Daniel with a strap-on pleasure machine. I mean, I would want to leave too. I'd be like, well, I'm getting the hell out of here. I need to go talk to a priest, get some holy water, take the I gotta repent and just from being in the presence of this.
Yeah.
You're sick. You are sick.
I like your sound.
It's also critical that we enforce anti-extremism laws. The opponents of the pleasure machine advocate traditional institutions of marriage, family, gender, community, religion. We have to silence these agitators by labeling them as extremist hate mongers that inspire violence. We can put them on watch lists, ban them from travel, maybe even indefinitely detain them on spurious charges.
For those who missed it, what Daniel is here depicting as this dramatic system of persecuting these guys who don't want the pleasure system is basically governments being against people like him who want to establish laws to execute people who leave his religion or who are against his religion. That's what he's pointing out here. That's his big deal. He wants countries to be able to apply the death sentence for leaving Islam, for blaspheming, for being gay, and all of that stuff. And he's like, this evil system, it's persecuting us. We just want to kill other people.
That's really what this boils down to is his analogy in his twisted brain. He thinks the pleasure machine is liberalism, preventing him from murdering gays and sleeping with little girls that they're allowed to marry and then divorce and then remarry, all by the time they start showing signs of puberty.
I just want to have sex with little kids. Why can't they allow me this?
Yeah, but again, as we noted time and time again, his analogy is really Islam, because Islamic heaven is the pleasure machine. And so I don't think he really thought this one out. And it's just so off the wall. Like, you're sitting here going, why would he make up this weird analogy? Like, I thought about it on the plane. I'm like, what was he doing? And like, it dawned on me, like, he didn't think it out because it's just Islamic heaven. Like I cannot even fathom writing an opening statement this cringeworthy. I just can't even.
He's very proud of it.
Now, we don't want to stifle all debate about the pleasure machine, of course.
Oh my God.
That might make us look too obviously totalitarian. So let's allow people to debate the pleasure machine, but in a controlled fashion.
Yes, Daniel, that's what they are all worried about. They're all worried about looking too totalitarian if they insist on allowing people to experience pleasure. Yeah, they all think, oh no, if we allow people to experience pleasure, and if we prevent you from banning that pleasure, then we might look too totalitarian. Yes, too totalitarian, even more totalitarian than you, where you want to massacre and kill people for thinking differently.
He wants laws against 9-year-olds having sex. So 9-year-olds are going to be round up and thrown in prison, if they start engaging in sort of activity, instead of getting them in counseling and therapy and things that would actually help them. No, lock them up immediately. It's such projection, honestly, his attack on liberalism. And like, I'm not a liberal. I'm a Christian. There's a lot I disagree with liberalism as a whole. I mean, but his caricature of it is just like, on half the time it just feels like projection. Like his authoritarianism just seeps through, and he just projects that onto liberalism.
Wait, hold on. Are you an Islamist? Do you want to establish Islamic laws?
Absolutely not.
So that means you're a liberal.
It must be. There's only two options. Either you want child marriage in an Islamic state where gays are thrown off rooftops, or you are a liberal. There's no other options.
What's also interesting, we didn't even go into this. We're being very fair here, but he talks about secular humanism with Matt Dillahunty lengthily, and he basically he accuses secular humanism of colonizing, of slavery, of wars, of imposing laws on other nations, and all of that stuff. Everything that is liberalism, everything that is West, the whole Western history, America, everything is secular humanism. And Daniel, do you not know the stuff that you're studying? Do you not know that secular humanism is a specific idea that wasn't even around when some of these nations were colonizing continents?
You should skip ahead to Matt's. The first thing he says after Daniel's opening statement, I think it's like 2 minutes out, is Matt actually has a pretty clever response to Daniel's big story of the pleasure machine that just goes on and on. I think it's at 26.
But the reality is secular humanism is a totalitarian system of liberation and equality that has been imposed.
This is the dumbest thing I've heard about it. A totalitarian system of liberation and equality.
They oppress us by giving us freedom. But how? Quick, give them freedom of speech and freedom and Second Amendment rights and no search and seizure without a warrant, and give them the Bill of Rights. That's how we'll oppress them.
That will show them. They will all
they're oppressed by their
human is exactly what secular humanists say to Islam. But the reality is secular humanism is a totalitarian system of liberation and equality that has been imposed on the entire world. It's a system.
It sounds like a parody. What the hell?
Stop oppressing us with your freedom. I hate it. It's going to ruin everything.
Secular humanism is a totalitarian system. They force freedom and equality on everyone. What in the world is wrong with you? Did you even? He actually wrote that down.
He wrote this on paper, and he
wrote that
looked
line
it
down.
over, He was like, "Yeah, this is great. This is good stuff here. I'm going to say this publicly to thousands of people."
Like, whoa, yeah. Secular humanism is a totalitarian system of liberty and equality. That's a brilliant line. Wow, this will shock the masses, and everyone will see that I am, of course, right. Oh my God.
A system he lives in and benefits from. The only like, if this is so oppressive, how's he getting up to saying this publicly? Like, attacking all this stuff. If he's being oppressed by liberalism, he can get up and say this publicly. Like, but by a debate channel,
he's being oppressed right now. This is totally. He's being oppressed right now, as you can see, man. He's denying it. He's being persecuted here.
He's such an oppressed, poor little boy.
He doesn't want to be free. He doesn't want to be equal. He's being forced to be equal and free.
Being forced. They're forcing me to be free. It's horrible.
I don't want to be free. I don't want to be equal.
I want to be a slave to the Islamic State so I can get my pleasure machine after I die.
I don't want to be free. They're forcing me to be free and equal. I hate that. I wish I was a slave.
You can't make this stuff up. I mean, like,
system that gradually, and I emphasize this, gradually destroys basic human institutions like marriage, family, community, religion, and ultimately the human race itself. And whoever resists it is considered a fundamental extremist who must be brought to heel. Islam also cares about individual human happiness. But
Matt's face just cracks me up this whole time.
He can't believe he's actually in this debate.
He's just looking at the audience like, can you believe
I got a question for Matt. If you're Matt, when you were sitting there, were you thinking at all, man, I wish I could just debate Christians again? This would be so much better. What if, like, this is just please let me debate Christians again. I can't deal with this nonsense.
It's funny. Matt pointed out just half an hour later or so. This will be the only debate that we will have.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. He absolutely had enough already.
Islam also cares about individual human happiness. But Islam sets limits because there are other institutions and norms worth preserving. Institutions of marriage, family, community, religion, and the human race itself.
Wow, okay.
This is why it is far better than secular humanism.
Here's Matt's response.
Thank you very much for that opening, Daniel. Folks, if you're watching, I want to remind you, DebateCon 4 is coming up this November 4th in Dallas, Texas. You don't want to miss it. Check out the description box for the link for that conference. And if you're from far away across the globe, hit subscribe, as we'll be streaming all of those debates live for the public. With that, we're going to jump into open dialogue. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours.
I didn't know secular humanism was a totalitarian. What? Oh, I thought somebody said something. Totalitarian regime. I need to call my... well, I don't actually have stocks, but if I had somebody who's managing my stocks, I'd want to call and put in an order on straw and oil, because we are currently out of straw after that straw man and oil after we got pushed down that slippery slope. And what has to be the biggest grandstanding, whining misrepresentation of secular humanism and cancel culture that I've ever heard. Cancel culture, by the way, is the real wine here, but it's not about canceling, it's about accountability. And it seems strange to call secular humanism as, oh, it's just about pleasure and everything else. And if you dare to say something like it's okay to forcibly marry a 4-year-old, they're just going to call you awful. They're going to say, are you a child predator? It's okay. It's okay. We don't need to cancel anything. We don't need to ban the pleasure machine. The pleasure machine will either kill us off, or climate change will, or work out ourselves. So since we're supposed to be having a discussion and I have to ask a question to start with, I'll start with my first question. One of the first questions I thought of, which I thought of before we ever got here. Is Islam encouraging terrorism, or is it just really inept at stopping it?
Wow.
So again, my question for Matt is, do you wish you could just go back to the good old days where you just had to debate Christians and not deal with a Muslim telling you about his strap-on pleasure machine dystopian nightmare? I just wonder if you've thought about this real hard and think that maybe Christianity ain't that bad. I mean, at the end of the day, we can actually have a conversation where we don't have to bring up strap-on pleasure machines.
Wow, I'm kind of surprised that that Matt's response is just, okay, this is the dumbest thing I've heard in my life, basically. But here's a question. Here's a question to you: does Islam cause terrorism, or can it just not stop terrorism? It's shocking to me actually that he immediately went there. He was like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. Let's talk about terrorism.
My favorite thing is Matt was like, let me just ignore that idiotic opening statement. It was just nonsense, and let's just have some actual conversation. Like he tried. He at least tried. Like, let's have a conversation. And I'm not going to talk about your strap-on pleasure machines. Let's talk about something really going on.
Yeah, thanks for talking about the pleasure machine. How about let's talk about terrorism now? Wow, man.
Like,
Okay, let me respond to certain things. Like if we want to talk about terrorism, okay, the values of secular humanism, like the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of individual happiness, that was the basis of the French Revolution. That was the basis of the American Revolution. That was the basis of
no, it wasn't.
Yes,
what?
The French Revolution was all about secular humanism.
Freaking like the American Revolution was not all about pleasure. Like freaking like has he studied anything on like the American Revolution and all the sacrifice these soldiers had to make? Like they didn't even get pay, and they're fighting off the British. Just
Don't lie. It was all about secular humanism.
It was all about pleasure machines. The king didn't want them to have pleasure machines.
Yeah,
and the Americans were like, no, we want pleasure machines. So we're going to get guns and we're going to sacrifice our lives.
I'm going to get my pleasure machine, and the others were like, oh, you can't get that, not
like
machine.
The complexity.
Like, I want my pleasure machine right now.
Give me liberty or give me pleasure machine.
Oh my! This is just so. Oh, this guy is retarded.
The Communist Revolution, the Decembrist Revolution, all of these revolutions that were explicitly on the basis of reason and improving human happiness on the basis
of
reason, religion. That is the ideological basis of all of those movements that ended up killing hundreds of thousands of people.
What did he just mention? The Soviets, the Bolshevik?
Yeah, he lumped in the French Revolution, the Soviet Revolution, with the American Revolution, like which was basically
what the.
Like the American Revolution it was like the motivation for that was Christian values. I mean, if you check out the book Human Rights and Christianity, an Introduction, one of the chapters is on liberty and equality, and notes that a lot of the enlightened ideas that inspired the American Revolution came from they came through Calvinistic thinkers that got this stuff from Calvin and Luther, and then earlier Catholic and Orthodox thinkers. So like all of this stuff was not like coming from like secularism. It came from, they were taking ideas they got from Christianity and the Christian history, and then they just exploded in the American Revolution and rejecting divine rights of kings, arguing for property rights and freedom and liberty, these types of things. Like his understanding of history, just to lump in the American Revolution with the October Revolution of Russia is just utter nonsense. Like that would cause an historian to like pull his hair out.
Don't you know the Bolsheviks? They were like, yeah, I want the Tsar is not giving the pleasure machine. They don't want the pleasure machine. They are exploiting all of us. We must stand up right now and get the pleasure machine, which they don't want to give. Make our own pleasure machine. We want a pleasure machine right now.
That's a pretty good Russian accent, I have to say.
I hope so. Yeah.
Of the Communist Revolution, the Decembrist Revolution, all of these revolutions that were explicitly on the basis of reason and improving human happiness on the basis
Where is my pleasure machine, bled? Give me my pleasure machine.
Of reason and overthrowing religion. That is the ideological basis of all of those movements that ended up killing hundreds of thousands of people. Obviously, you are not going to consider them to be terrorists. That's very convenient for you. But the people who are being killed by these groups did consider them to be terrorists. The regimes that were displaced by these groups did consider them to be terrorists. But the winners are able to write history. You keep bringing up like this point about 4-year-olds. This is like a straw man that was.
And we're back where we were earlier. Like.
Yeah, we all know Lenin was proudly leading the people, the red ones.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a choice before you. You can be liberal. There's only two choices you got two choices according to Daniel. You can either A, be a liberal and get your pleasure machine eventually, or you can be a Muslim, die, and then get your strap-on pleasure machine.
Yeah.
Which do you want? Do you want the liberal pleasure machine or the strap-on pleasure machine that Daniel's talking about. There's only 2 options here, ladies and gentlemen. Which pleasure machine do you want? There's only 2 options.
Vladimir Lenin was like, we are slowly being turned into Muslims here, but we all want our pleasure machine. Comrades, let us get our pleasure machine right now. Stand up with me. Let us fight for it. And that's exactly also what happened in America. That's what happened in France, the French Revolution. Prominently, everybody knows the French. They had enough of being turned into Muslims. They wanted to.
They had
pleasure machines.
They had enough of the Muslim overlords forcing them to talk to grandma all day, and they were
yeah. I want a pleasure machine. I want a pleasure machine. Yeah.
Don't make me talk to my grandma anymore.
Oh, pleasure machine.
How boring is your grandma that you're just like, revolution?
I'm a pleasure machine. I'm a machine of pleasure. I want a machine of pleasure. That's what they said, and that's how they got the pleasure machine. This is just all. Thank you, Daniel. Man, nobody knew this. I had no idea about this.
Nate, nowhere did I say that a 4-year-old should
we should
in a sexual release.
All right, okay, yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah, we went through that earlier. We should probably do super chats and close this out because this is.
Oh, but no, wait! I want to see the fight again.
Oh yeah, that was. There he goes, going at.
Here's the thing that Daniel doesn't seem to understand.
So yeah,
here's the thing.
Whenever you get caught on inconsistency, you make a joke or you blast the F word. Whenever you're caught out on an inconsistency, you just blurt out the F word. You make a joke for your plant to laugh at.
That's an amazing comment. That's an amazing comment.
There's
Soviet Russia, the pleasure machine straps you on.
Time I have a good point that he knows.
Whenever you don't have an answer,
to talk over me.
Whenever you don't have an answer, you have to make a
I
dumb
have an
joke,
answer.
a
If you
boomer
shut the
joke.
fuck up, I tell you.
Oh, big man, come and say that right here.
Trying to say it right where? Here.
All right.
I don't know anything. I'm not violent.
Go ahead,
Gentlemen,
do it.
all right.
I'm saying I have an answer.
Sit down.
Okay, I'll sit down. You said
Sit
that
down.
to come over there and say it. I'm not violent. I would never do
You
anything.
can't
violent.
respond to any point. You just make.
Daniel, you are a pathetic weasel. And here everybody can see it. You're a pathetic little person, a little weasel, and everybody can see it right here on display, caught on camera. You like mocking other people. You like making fun of them. You like doing all kinds of dumb things. You are right here on camera being a complete little pathetic, weak weasel when you are the one suggesting violence, suggesting that if he comes over and says that to your face, you will deal with him. And he comes over to you and he does say it to your face. And you suddenly back down and become that little boy, little man that you are, and tell him to just go back and sit down. That's what you are. That's what you are inside, aren't you? That's you want to show the world, you want to show to your Muslim audience that you are a strong, wonderful man. You are a Chad. You are tough. You're so hard. You're so wonderfully amazing, and people should be scared of you because they're weaklings. They're weaklings. They're pussies. You're strong, and there you are, backing down immediately as soon as somebody calls you out on your bluff.
He should have. Dan should at least stood up. I mean, he just sitting there. I mean,
he suddenly shrunk. Yeah.
He shouldn't have called Matt over. Like, honestly, like this. There was so much in this you just needed de-escalated. And again, Daniel is very good at pushing people's buttons, and he pushed Matt's buttons, and Matt justly got upset about a lot of this stuff because, you know, he's up there talking about child marriage and terrorism and all these horrible things, and Daniel just keeps pushing his buttons, trying to get these reactions because that's what he wants to use. And this is what Daniel will go on about probably in his review about, oh, he's coming over, threatening me, he's an unhinged atheist, you know, and all this stuff. And again, if anyone debates Daniel in the future, you gotta practice the stoic mentality. Just like there were parts of my debate where I almost like lashed out hearing some of the stuff he said, but I had to catch myself. Like you see me on stage going like, okay, don't, you know, like trying to calm myself down because I know he's saying horrible things to try to make you get unhinged, and you got to resist that kind of crap because that's what he wants to use against you.
Look, this is a dumb kind of stuff that his fans spread because he started it. Let me see where there's a comment. Let me see that there's a comment here. The hypocrisy of AP is uncanny. Posted by Abu Gharib. He said, "Wait a minute. What did he say there somewhere?" Let's get that out. I mean, I specifically want to highlight this because this is the kind of dumb stuff that his fans and he spread upon his orders. "You cried in the debate, AP, and it wasn't in person," said he. By debate, he's referring to that 4-hour or 5-hour conversation that I had with Daniel Kikuchi when I invited him on, where he also told me that we could, of course, talk about having an actual debate, which he immediately dropped.
Yeah.
After the debate was over, and then started saying, "I spanked this mutad, this apostate." I just want to ask you one question, Abu Gharib. Can you point me at the exact spot in that debate, which you call a debate, where I actually cried? Can you point me at that specific spot, or can you publish it? Can you publish that part and show where I actually cried? Like maybe I did cry. Like maybe I did. I cried. I'm a sensitive person. I can get very emotional. I can get upset about things. I might cry here and there. You know, I see something emotional happening. I see something that is unbearable, and I cry. Maybe I cried there. Maybe it did happen. Maybe I just don't remember it. Can you show me where I cried in the debate? Oh, you are saying it was afterwards. I cried afterwards. I see. Afterwards. So you mean afterwards, like later on? Or do you mean the next day when I actually talked about the debate and I had an anxiety attack during the live stream? Is that what you're talking about? That's what you mean by crying, because I had an anxiety attack. So that means when I had several other anxiety attacks, like when I talked about hating Jews, how Muslims hate Jews all the time, and I had an anxiety attack during that live stream randomly out of nowhere, and I started feeling cold and had to pause. That means I cried there too, because I was scared and humiliated and all of that stuff. I see. I guess when people have anxiety attacks, when they have panic attacks, that means they're crying because they are scared of their opponents, even when there is no opponent. Because that's what an anxiety attack is, right? Because you don't understand what an anxiety attack actually is, and you like to take that kind of stuff out of context in order for your hero to come here and engage in bullying, thinking that you have just humiliated the enemies of Islam. You dumb moron.
This guy needs to relax. He should probably try Daniel's strap-on pleasure machine. It might calm him down a little bit. It might make him feel better and not so aggravated.
It is true that I had an anxiety attack the next day when I was sitting down and talking about the debate, which was a time where I had a lot of anxiety attacks, where I canceled live streams because I had anxiety attacks, where I had to get off a plane because I had anxiety attacks, where I told David, "I'm sorry, I can't come right now. I'm not feeling very good," because I was dealing with some really severe anxiety attacks, which, by the way, have nothing at all to do with being, I don't know, scared in a debate or whatever it is. You can have an anxiety attack from being too happy, from laughing too much. You can have an anxiety attack from laughing too much if you're dealing with an anxiety disorder. So before you talk about dumb stuff like this and want to act like your guy actually defeated and humiliated somebody, because that's the only thing you got, because as everybody can see, you are lacking in logic, you're lacking in dignity, in decency. Logic is missing, knowledge is missing, intelligence is missing. Your guy is borderline retarded, and that's what you resort to because of that.
So Daniel won't have an official debate with you. He just had that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little weird because didn't he agree to like a more formal debate at one point?
He said that we would talk about having an actual debate afterwards, and then he immediately jumped out of that, chickened out of that. And I caught him live one day and confronted him on the name of Allah versus Yahweh. And he had no idea what he was talking about. It was embarrassing as hell. And I put it out there to show to everybody. And everybody who watches it now laughs at Daniel for being such an idiot, such a person who claims to be so knowledgeable and so superior to his non-Muslim opponents, to the Islamophobes. And then he sits there and he talks about Allah and about Yahweh and claims that Yahweh was a pagan name adopted from a pagan religion, and later claims he never said that, because he then realizes that saying that will imply eventually that Islam is also a fake pagan religion.
Yeah,
That's how dumb your guy is. Then that's why you have to resort to such personal attacks.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, this was interesting to say the least. Just now, I'm going to have nightmares about Daniel's strap-on pleasure machine, and that's not good. And I'm just going to have to try to get those. I need to go to church and clean myself up. This is, oh my goodness, the stuff coming out of his mouth. It's amazing. Like, you know. So again, my question is like we should go back to the good old days when just Christians and atheists would debate and to deal with this kind of crap.
Well, then you're basically saying that you want to put on strap-on pleasure machines and
that's all you atheists and Christians do when you debate. You put on your strap-ons and go after each other, and then you pee on the walls. Islam will fix all this.
Yeah, strap-on pleasure machines. That's what you get, man. That is what you get. And here we have it on this list. Let's watch it again because it was so beautiful. Here's Daniel acting tough and basically suggesting violence, and then backing down like a little kid, like okay, let's forget I never said that. How about sit down, let's talk.
Fuck up, I tell you.
Oh, big man, come and say that right here.
Come and say it right where?
All right.
Here.
All right. Nice. I'm happy to
I don't do anything. I'm not violent.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen,
Do it.
all right.
I'm saying I have an answer.
Sit down. Sit down.
Okay, I'll sit down. You said
Sit
that
down.
you come over there and say it. I'm
Yeah.
not violent. I would never do
You
anything.
can't
violent.
respond to any point. You just make a joke.
I can't respond to any
So
point
you
'cause
do
won't
believe
shut the
in
fuck
schooling
up.
rape.
So
you believe in.
do you want an answer?
Look how he's he lost.
Educational rape.
This is your guy. This is Daniel Hikikachu.
I am so glad that like my debate with Daniel didn't devolve into this, because like again, I was just trying to keep it stoic, calm, because I know when Daniel starts pushing people's buttons, this is what happens, and that's what he thrives on.
Look how his face changed immediately after this. How his face and his whole demeanor changed.
Hey, pretending that I
Rape onto any point. You just make a joke.
I can't respond to any
So
point
you
'cause
do
won't
believe
shut the
in
fuck
schooling
up.
rape.
So
you believe in.
Do you want an
And after this, he started attacking the audience and attacking random people in the audience and trying to insult them. And
that's another thing.
That's-
Is he was
that's what you
he's
guys are.
fighting with people in the audience. Like, who cares what's going on in the audience? Just focus on the debate. Like,
Daniel
I never care
cares.
what the audience is doing.
Daniel cares because his views are so idiotic and his logic is so dumb, and people are mocking him over the stuff that he says already and hating him over the disgusting things that he suggests. Now the only thing he has left is to attack all those people who are hating him, making matters even worse. Maybe you should sit down and think, the stuff that I'm arguing here, it's pretty messed up. But no, he just continues.
He needs to relax with his strap-on pleasure machine for a few hours and just sort of calm down. Maybe he'll reassess everything.
Yeah. General Bulldozer said, "Does anyone think Islam is Gnostic?" I think unknowingly so, maybe, but it's not.
He has
really.
elements that it shares with Gnostic.
Yeah, unknowingly. Yeshua the King said, "In light of the one unforgivable sin, is rejecting Christ a part of that, or can God have mercy on someone truly not convinced and grant him the kingdom?" That's what IP can answer. But it's important to,
in light of the one unforgivable. So the unforgivable sin is unbelief. It's rejecting the witness of the Holy Spirit. That's why it's the unforgivable sin, because you reject God. It has nothing to do with a specific act. It's more of like a demeanor, like you're actively rejecting God continually. That's what Jesus paints it in the light when he mentions it. So in light of the one unforgivable sin is rejecting Christ apart from that, or can God have mercy? So again, it goes back to my theology that hell is not a place that people are thrown into. It's a place where people go who reject God. It's not a place that people are thrown into against their will. All that are in hell choose it. That's the unforgivable sin.
Thank you. By the way, this video is sponsored by Pleasure Inc. Pleasure Inc. will give you great pleasures. Oh my God. Ditka, would you have? Okay, I already read that. Thank you. Are you pro-educational rape? Asking for Pikachu.
Say 2 + 2 = 4, or it's back to the pleasure machine if you don't.
I couldn't believe what he was saying. Like at first, I thought, wait, did you just say educational rape? Like, Like philosophical rape. What about philosophical rape, epistemological rape? We can just expand this to all kinds of things.
So much. What is with him? He's talking about strap-on pleasure machines. Everything's rape. I mean, like, I don't want to know what goes on in his head.
I know what's going on in his head. It's not nice. Women bashers are not liked even by criminals. Depends on how you actually bash them. That's some of them are popular, like I don't know, Andrew Tate, for example, especially by criminals. But yeah, unfortunately. XXWZLX said, remember when he spoke about analytical thinking being a form of colonialism? Did I get that right? I wasn't really paying attention, but he started talking about how people adopted specific ways of like the law of non-contradiction and things like that as well, because of, I don't know, I don't want to misrepresent him now.
It was confusing when I don't know, I had a hard time following him on that. He did not do a good job presenting his stuff. Like,
yeah,
typically.
It's terrible. By the way, Daniel, I know you find it very, very, very bad when people talk about you, but I'm just not here. I'm not here to just talk about you. I'm also here to talk to you. I'm still waiting for you to clarify what exactly you meant by Yahweh was adopted. This pagan name Yahweh was adopted by those people. But anyway, I would like to get back and have an actual debate with you, unless, of course, you're scared and you don't want to have that debate because you don't think it will go well for you. But I'm always here. You can always contact me. You messaged me before several times. You thanked me for making you popular. You're welcome, by the way. I like it, and I take credit for that every single time when I see you go somewhere. I'm proud that I made you popular. I'm always here to have a debate with you. If you want to reach out to me, we can always discuss, is Islam true, for example? Please get back to me, Daniel. Thank you. And again, you're welcome for the whole popularity thing. Let's see. Count Booga said, good prophet AP sent David to the Shadow Realm. I did. I killed David, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta take off soon. So
okay.
Take off while you go through these.
You can leave. You can leave.
Oh, okay. Just kicking me out now. All right.
You can leave.
Atheist.
Get the hell out of there.
Thanks for having me on. I will never forgive you for making me go through the pleasure machine dialogue or monologue that was. And oh God, yeah. All right, I'm gonna go repent, read the Bible, feel better about myself.
Okay, calm down. Stop using the pleasure machine. I appreciate always having you here, IP. And by the way, IP too. By the way, you're not special.
It is always a pleasure machine to be here. I mean, pleasure to be here.
As long as you don't strap it on. All right. Okay. Thanks, man. See you.
Thanks.
See, he got scared and he left. Get scared.
You're finished already. Look at me. You know you're done.
All right, I'll be here. I'm gonna read a few more super chats here, and then I will leave. If you want to, wow, there are lots of super chats that I didn't read. Okay, I'm gonna read all of these and then I will leave. David, if you're still there, if you're still alive, and if you want to hop on at one point because your internet is suddenly back, you can still hop on and be tortured by me reading super chats. You love this part, I know. I know you do. Did you guys see and have thoughts on Daniel's argument from belief in spirit beings? Interesting side of all of this IMO. I only saw him briefly. I jumped into that whole. I started listening to the debate at, I don't know, 1 hour and 30 minutes or something like that. And he was explaining how believing in God is intuitional, and you don't need evidence, you don't need arguments, but we all have the intuition, we all have this drive to believe, therefore you should believe, or something. It was just the worst attempt at having a discussion about the existence of God or the supernatural. Why would you even agree to have such a debate if you can't if you can't have proper arguments? It's so ridiculous. And there are lots of people who have had great debates on this stuff. You're not one of them. Jordan's Bulldozer said, hey, Mike, did you ever listen to James Lindsay? I can answer for him. I can say no. I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But I'm pretty sure he did not. It's because I know him. Franklin Garcia said, "Hey, this is a little bit off topic, but IP. What are some sources?" See, I will send this to him again. Maybe he can answer all of this on his Twitter profile. I'll text him now. Shoulders Cap Teeth said, "Would you have Robert Price on your show for me?" Robert Price. Isn't that the guy who was a guest on Derek's show quite a bit? Is that who we're talking about? Robert M. Price. Is that who? I don't know. Never thought about it. Not sure. I don't know. Tyson 277. I don't know anything about him. Tyson 277 said it's haram to give the wife some tongue action, but beating her and kids, having sex with kids or old men is halal. Yeah, but don't say the F word. That's where we draw the line. Don't say the F word. Have sex with. I don't even want to speak it out. Muhammad is in the book of Genesis, bros. Yeah. This is just so messed up. Dominic said, "I agree with AP that Daniel is not that stupid. He's using debate tactics equivalent to dirty boxing in pursuit of a win. Daniel is a skilled troll." I know. I still feel like he might be like an undercover plant to make Islam look bad, and he's paid for that by some strong people who don't like Islam. Maybe that's what's happening here. I'm not sure. It could be. It is entirely possible. If so, I must say, Daniel, you are very competent. You're doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job. Continue. And I hope you're getting good money for this. Royal Castria said loud noises. Jordan's Bulldozer said Daniel is not welcome in Ancapistan anymore. What's the relation with ANCAP and Daniel? I don't know. Nicholas Sanker said, "I would have asked Daniel, if you think child marriage is so good for society, why are you married to an adult?" Because he can't. He wants to marry little kids. But the evil, secular, humanist, totalitarian system will not allow him to marry little kids. That's the problem. Break the Cross made a super chat and said, "Break the cross." It's very disrespectful. Nikhil Sanka said, "To IP, how much did Israel pay you to convert to Christianity and talk shit about Islam like a covert agent?" I have to ask him that. I don't know how much he's paid. He might let me know or not. I will see. Daniel thinks Allah will give him a pleasure machine in Jannah. It's just the absurdest part of this whole thing that he kept ranting about this dumb pleasure machine. Like, doesn't he realize how stupid that was? Obviously, he doesn't. Jordan's Bulldozer said Daniel confuses liberalism with neo-Marxism. You can't get anything right, man. Tanzil Muslim said, "AP, could you explain what Marijn van Putten said about Allah's name? Also, did Mopus have mental issues?" Mopus, you mean Muhammad? He did, definitely. And I wrote a big thread about that at one point. It wasn't that big. But I wrote kind of an article on that too, which I never published. I still need to get back to that kind of stuff. Marijn van Putten said about Allah's name. I can't remember what it is. I brought this up yesterday, but I can't exactly remember what our discussion was. But it was about whether Allah is a proper name in Islam or not. I can't exactly remember. I'm sorry. Tyson said, "I was going to say he's a funny, weird little man with a weird hat, but no, he's just Muslim." That's very disrespectful. Very disrespectful. He's a tough guy. Daniel Kikichu is a tough guy. He's a big man. He's strong. You don't mess with Daniel Kikichu. You don't mess with this guy.
Have an answer. You have to make a
I
dumb
have an
joke,
answer.
a
If you
boomer
shut
joke.
the fuck up, I'd tell you.
Oh, big man, come and say that right here.
Come and say it right where?
All right.
Here.
All right. Guys.
I'm happy to
Chill out.
Just
Relax.
I don't do anything. I'm not violent.
Go ahead.
Okay, go
Gentlemen,
sit down. Go sit down.
Do it.
All right.
I'm saying I have an answer.
Sit down.
Let's
Sit down.
Go sit down. Sit down.
You said that
Sit
you
down.
could come over there and say it. I'm
Yeah.
not violent. I would never do
You
anything.
can't.
He's a big man. Big man. Big, strong man. Everybody's scared of him. Can you imagine, like, I'm having a discussion with somebody, and after being very nasty to that person says, "You shut the fuck up." And I'm like, "How about you come here and say that right here? How about you come and say that right here?" And that person comes, I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Go sit down. Go sit down." I just muted myself, didn't I? How did I do that? I don't know. I hit something. I muted myself. Anyway, I was saying Big Mouth. That's all he has. Nothing else. Y'all should check out the war metal band, Damar. I don't know. But do I have to do that whole bit again because I was muted during the whole bit? I'm not going to do that again. Is it a full auto pleasure machine, or a bolt action? Daniel has to specify. He didn't do a good job presenting any of that kind of stuff. He didn't do any of that kind of stuff. He needs to write down how exactly this pleasure machine works. Donald Trump's 116 indictments became member of the channel. Thank you so much, Donald Trump's 116 indictments. I appreciate it very, 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 very much. What sound is weird? Why does it sound weird? What are you talking about? Oh, no. Did it switch to a different microphone because it couldn't catch? Yes, it did. What the hell is happening? Okay. I pulled the cable. Now it should be back to normal. Is it back to normal? Is it back to normal? Back to normal? Yeah. Okay. I was trying to mock Daniel Kikuchi, but then I stepped in and unplugged my cable, but now it's back to normal again. Okay. Sorry about that. Terrible job here. Bolahan Animas Hound said, "Great job. Please, can you do content on Arab slave trade? Maybe it would help those black people defending Islam." I made videos. I made 2 different videos, long in the distant past, which you can find on my channel, which are titled "The Dark History of Slavery in Islam" or something like that, and something else. But I made 2 videos on slavery. One is about what Islam says about slavery, and the other is on the history of slavery and how it was implemented. Oh, I also made another one, which is Muhammad was a slave master or something like that, which talks about Muhammad's slaves and how Muslims throughout history never stopped having slaves, because until the evil Western liberals stepped in and stopped it. Terrible people. Gore Bulldozer said, Gore Noise Bulldozer said, "Do Muslims think that Jews and Christians won't fight back? Have they literally never heard of Israeli commandos and or rednecks?" No. If Christians and Jews fight back, then they are being evil oppressors motivated by liberalism. You should never fight back. Atheists should never stand up and say, "Okay, here I am. What do you want me to do?" No. If you do that, that basically means you are influenced by liberalism and you are following and taking the pleasure machine. What you're supposed to do is become a Muslim, or just take it, or become a slave. I just read that, didn't I? "We are so cooked," said Enamil Butilzi. Igor Kovanovsky said, "Love you, AP. Keep exposing this cult. Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate that. Thank you for being here. When you're so bad that you make an atheist look." I know what atheists are, horrible people. It would be funny if I got community striked for that. I'm an atheist. I'm joking. Moderator, whoever is picking this up, I'm joking. I'm an atheist myself. I'm a horrible person too, because atheists are horrible people. Muhammad had a pleasure machine called the Al Kalbi. Don't get back to that again and again. Emil said, "Can Mike Jones explain his tattoo lore?" I will tell him to do that on his channel. Maybe he can publish a video where he can take his shirt off and display all his tattoos and play some music and talk about the pleasure machines. Something like that. I don't know. WLZXX said, "Didn't Daniel deny that Moses existed in the debate? Did he? I'm not entirely sure. I didn't watch the whole debate. I tuned in somewhere at 1 hour and 30 minutes or something like that and watched the rest from there on. And although I might have missed a part here and there, that Moses was mentioned before that. I don't know. Let me see.
knowledge and founded Zoroastrianism. Claimed to have founders who lived in the distant past and had access to supernatural knowledge. For example, Zoroaster had access to supernatural knowledge and founded Zoroastrianism. Similarly, Moses founded Judaism, Buddha founded Buddhism, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam founded Islam, and so on. Religions further claim that they've preserved the teachings of their founders without fundamental alteration.
So he is just saying that these things are being claimed, and some of them are true according to him. Some of them probably are not. I don't know. Did he say anything about Moses not existing? I don't know anything about that. Moses, where else is he mentioned?
Zoroastrian doctrines like the Trinity cannot be traced back to Jesus. Similarly, when it comes to figures like Zoroaster, Moses, and perhaps even Buddha, it cannot be independently verified that these figures have ever even existed. As a result, basic Zoroastrian, Jewish, and Buddhist texts or doctrines cannot be traced to these founders. But Islam is unique in that it's...
Okay, so he says that unless he said something more about this, and you mean that, but no, I mean, he's saying that it can't be verified that they existed. But he himself obviously believes that Moses, for example, did exist. So he's not making a claim of Moses not existing here. But he is basically, saying that that in the other religions cannot properly verify what they believe in. That said, that does not mean that Moses didn't exist. Not sure what the context of all of this is. I didn't catch that. Zoroastrian Moses, Moses, and we have in the Torah. Okay, here, let's see.
Doctrines and practices, and they will not be able to historically verify that the Torah is actually traced to, the time of Moses as a historical figure. There's actually no archaeological evidence or radiocarbon evidence, manuscript evidence that Moses even existed. As Muslims, we believe that Moses existed as a prophet, and he's one of the most frequently mentioned prophets in the Quran. But we believe in the existence of Moses because of the Quran, because we believe in the Quran, we accept revelation.
Yeah,
but
so
with Muhammad,
he believes in the existence. So no denying that. Can't argue with that. Interesting stuff, though. Afghan Prince said, "I'm from Afghanistan, and your vids helped me to leave Islam." I'm very happy to hear that. Very, very happy to hear that. Enjoy the pleasure machine during the rest of your life. That's apparently what we all do. That's what we all do. We're sitting there.
You're sitting there watching Netflix.
Kyle Whittington said, "Daniel is doing very important work. As a Christian, I once thought that I should take Islam seriously. Daniel helped show me that that is not the case. Islam, yeah. Daniel, thank you so much. You're doing a fantastic job." Let me see if I have some sounds for that. What is this?
What?
That's not one. Here.
What kind of Muslim are you?
Homosexuality should be fine.
I still have a bunch of Mohammed hijab sounds because I didn't take the time to work on these sounds and put different stuff on here.
Yeah, man.
But all I did was go through my video, the end of Mohammed hijab, and then pick out whatever sounds I put in there, plus a few from around like
what
this.
the hell? I mean,
and this.
I'm a medical doctor.
And I have a laugh here from a movie. Which is from the movie Inglorious Bastards. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Ditka said Robert Price has great theories on the origin of Islam. Really? I thought he only talks about Christianity and stuff like that. I do not know. I do not know. I do not know. Sitting there watching Netflix code is good opposite. Hey James, good seeing you here, by the way. Yeah, I know I like this. I remembered this quote and I thought, okay, I have to have that as a sound.
You're sitting there watching Netflix. You're sitting there watching Netflix.
Such a dumb thing to say, but it's kind of funny when you put it in, when you take it out of context. Just because someone is articulate doesn't mean he isn't stupid. There are plenty of mentally disabled people who are completely functional. I know, but Daniel Hikikachu claims to have gone to some really high class, some really respectable universities and has studied physics. and psychology. Physics and philosophy, not psychology. That's me, not him. I don't know. Like, can somebody who is that bad at thinking really go to Harvard to study physics? Can somebody who is that bad at thinking go to Tufts University and study philosophy? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't make sense to me. It's like he's either an intelligent person who is so restricted in thinking when it comes to these topics because of how Islam restricts his mind, or he's just being deliberately stupid and deceptive, or he's somehow really that dumb and somehow made it through this whole system. I don't get it. I don't know. We will never know. We will never know. Because it's unbelievable to me that somebody would actually not understand the logic of some of that, for example. Oh, so you don't want to punish kids who want to engage in relationships and sexual relationships. That means you are for 9-year-old kids having sex with each other. That's so idiotically, that's so dumb. And I don't think you can be that dumb. I think you can be that dumb. I don't think you can go to these universities and be that dumb. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this. Maybe you can. I don't know. Doing MDMA churns your serotonin and then you get depressed. A pleasure machine probably wouldn't even work. It's not a realistic thought experiment. Are you saying Daniel Kikic's thought experiment is not realistic? Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Grace again said he thinks the Moses in the Quran exists. Yeah, he thinks Moses existed according to the Quran. The Moses we have in the Quran existed because we believe that the Quran is absolutely true. And if the Quran says that Moses was around and he did a few things, then we believe that that is indeed true. But we cannot verify historically or by other means that Moses existed. We believe in the existence of Moses not because of secondary sources and factors. We believe in it because the Quran says he existed. That's his whole point there. Yeah. Mosh Cohen from Israel, thank you so much. Well, I was worried. Thank you. I'm getting my Jewish money here. Sent me some shekels here and said, Daniel living and preaching this in the US reminds me of the Israeli Arabs in our parliament inciting their youth while taking taxes from the evil. Yeah. But hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I thought I'm not going to get my Mossad money here. And I'm doing this for nothing. But thank you. I appreciate it, Mosh. Ditka said, have on Robert Price for me, please. I don't know. The last time I heard of that guy, he was on Derek Myth Vision's show, and he said some really, really messed up things. And that's all I know about him. Like, he was talking about the protests during the whole Black Lives Matter protests, and he was basically talking about how what should be done is to go out and shoot the people or something like that. I don't know. I don't precisely remember what exactly he said, but he said some really messed up stuff. That's all I know about him. But yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Abu Gharib is still here, trying to find people who sympathize with his love for Islamic jihad and terrorism. Unfortunately, he can't find anybody. I wish you good luck, Abu Gharib. Islam also says Jesus is not God nor the Son of God. Wow, yeah. That's why we don't believe it. That's why, yeah. It's because Islam says we don't. Islam says that's true. That's why we say it's true. Islam says it's not true. That's why we say it's not true. Islam, for example, says Jews say that Ezra is the son of God. And that's why, of course, we don't believe that Ezra is the son of God. That's why we reject Jews, because Jews say Ezra is the son of God. Yeah. Of course. That's how dumb the Quran is. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day. I will be back soon. David never came back. And stuff. What is this question? What is this question? Deborah Irene said, AP, you're always too nice when it comes to their blatant lying and filthy text. What's up with that? I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself the same thing. Let me make a poll here and ask if I'm too nice. Maybe I can change everything from now on. Is AP too nice? Question, yes or no. I will run this poll for a minute and see what everybody says. If you guys say I'm too nice, then I will start being horrible to everyone. Am I being too nice? Maybe I could be nicer. Look, people are fighting. Is AP too nice? There's a fight going on right now. This is happening in life. This is happening right now, right here. You're witnessing history. You're witnessing history here. Let's put this on the screen and follow it right here. Let's see. The poll should stay open here. These are very critical moments in this big fight that is going on. 61% is saying yes so far. 39% is saying no. 38 no. 62 yes. Right now there is a big fight going on. 61% says yes. The rest says no. 62% says yes. The rest says no. So far 111 people have voted. We are waiting for more votes. The question is AP too nice? Yes or no? If we can have more votes here, this will be a historic moment, a historic outcome. This outcome here will determine the rest of history on this channel. If you vote yes, then I will start being a horrible person to everybody here. If you say no, then okay, it's obvious. The result is I'm ending it now. Those who voted already voted. And we have the results. The results are in. Where did the poll go? Okay, here. The results are, is AP too nice? The results are yes, 61%, no, 38%. 136 people voted. Apparently 60% of the comments of the live chat here says I'm too nice. And what am I going to do with this piece of information? Well, what do you do with any piece of information? You just register it and then you move on. You don't care about it. Thank you for playing the game with me, though. Sorry for having fun about this, but yeah, that's just what I am. I'm just too nice. I'm too nice. I could say horrible things on here, but why would I? Everybody is very mean. I'm just a nice person. Sunrise in Paradise said, I demand a recount. Bring it to the Supreme Court. Otherwise, I don't care. You need to hurl more racial slurs. Maybe I can start doing that. I don't know. I'll see. Will AP turn to angels or prophet Yebudi? That's Sheikh Yebudi. Play Red Dead. Isn't that a picture of Red Dead Redemption 1, not 2? Now all of those people who don't play video games will escape here. Yeah, I think that's 1. That's funny. I should start playing games on my live streams and have 8-hour live streams every day. Okay, I'm talking. I just keep talking. I'm leaving now. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
You're sitting there watching Netflix.
I'm going to leave. Have a good day. Have a fantastic day. And
Quiet, man.
As always,
Brother, I have doubts.
Stay away from
homosexuality. Should be fine. Homosexuality should be fine.
Why did I put that on here? Oh boy. Have a fantastic day.
Yeah, man.
And anyway, You're right. You're right, Sunrise and Paradise. This is the pleasure machine here.
You're finished already. Look at me. Look at me. You know you're done.
Lose faith. I tell you, lose faith. It's better for you. Imbeciles. Get the hell out of here.
Liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. Liar. You're a liar. I'm a medical doctor. You're sick. You're sick.
I can play all of these at once. I can play them at the same time. That is crazy, man. Wait a minute.
What? You're finished already. Look at me. You know you're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. I'm a medical doctor.
This is ridiculous. Okay, all right. I'm having too much fun here. Have a fantastic day, everybody. And stay away from. Oh, no, I can't say that. This other guy is supposed to say that. Wait. This other guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sergeant. I'm sorry, Sergeant. I'm still in the show here. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining the stream. See you next time. And
stay away from Islam. Stay away from Islam.